From Earth's molten beginnings to life's first daring step onto land, evolution sparked the rise of complex ecosystems. Ancient oceans filled with strange creatures, and oxygen flooded the atmosphere, fueling an explosion of life. But then, catastrophe. The Permian extinction left Earth nearly lifeless, a barren wasteland. Yet from the ashes, life clawed back in the Triassic, resilient and unstoppable. Early reptiles emerged, adapting to a changing world, evolving, transforming. And as ecosystems recovered, something even greater was on the horizon. A new reign, a world destined to be ruled by the mightiest creatures ever to walk the Earth. Welcome to Dinoverse. How did Earth's atmosphere and oceans form, and what factors played a role in making the planet habitable? Earth's atmosphere and oceans formed through a dramatic and chaotic process in the planet's early history, a time marked by relentless volcanic activity, intense asteroid bombardments, and extreme temperatures. During the Hadean Eon, Earth was a molten sphere, with temperatures so high that any water present was likely in the form of vapor. As Earth gradually began to cool, heavy elements sank towards the core, while lighter elements, like silicates, formed the outer layers, setting the stage for a dynamic crust and atmosphere. Volcanic eruptions released massive amounts of gases, primarily carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor, and traces of ammonia and methane, creating an atmosphere that, while toxic by today's standards, held the key ingredients for future life. These early volcanic eruptions were crucial to shaping Earth's environment. The release of water vapor from the mantle gradually allowed vapor to condense and accumulate, forming the first oceans as the planet cooled. Meanwhile, asteroid impacts brought additional water and volatile compounds to Earth, enriching the atmosphere and further contributing to the planet's water reserves. This mix of volcanic outgassing and asteroid-delivered materials eventually formed a dense atmosphere and the first oceans, transforming Earth from a hostile wasteland into a potential cradle for life. The oceans, while far from the habitats we know today, provided a stable environment where basic molecules could interact. The early atmosphere was rich in greenhouse gases, which trapped heat and helped maintain surface temperatures, a critical factor in preventing the oceans from freezing over completely. However, this atmosphere lacked oxygen, creating a reducing environment where methane and ammonia thrived. This specific chemical makeup was ideal for forming complex organic molecules, the building blocks of life. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun, unfiltered by an ozone layer, sparked chemical reactions in the atmosphere and oceans, helping to create amino acids, nucleotides, and other organic compounds. Earth's early atmosphere and oceans set the stage for the development of life. The combination of volcanic gases, asteroid impacts, and early ocean chemistry provided the essential ingredients and environment for molecular interactions that would eventually lead to the first simple organisms. These early atmospheric conditions, while harsh, were the foundation for a habitable planet, and over time, they would evolve in ways that further supported the rise of complex life. What role did volcanism and extreme temperatures play in shaping the first landmasses and environments where life could begin? Volcanism and extreme temperatures were central forces in Earth's formative years, sculpting the first landmasses and creating diverse environments that would eventually nurture life. In the Hadean and early Archean eons, the planet was dominated by volcanic activity on an unimaginable scale. Volcanoes continuously erupted molten rock, gases, and minerals, gradually forming Earth's first crust as lava cooled and solidified. This newly formed crust was thin and unstable, frequently breaking apart and reforming due to tectonic activity and intense internal heat. Over time, this process allowed for the development of small, isolated landmasses and volcanic islands that floated within Earth's early oceans, creating the first stable environments above sea level. These early volcanic islands were extreme, harsh landscapes with acidic, mineral-rich hot springs and geysers. Yet they were also rich in nutrients, as volcanic activity released essential minerals like iron, sulfur, and phosphates into the environment. The mineral-laden waters surrounding these land masses became rich chemical reservoirs where organic molecules could concentrate and interact. leading to complex chemical reactions. Hydrothermal vents, often located at the boundaries of tectonic plates or underwater volcanic regions, spewed superheated mineral-rich water, creating environments where temperature gradients could power chemical synthesis. These vents provided ideal conditions for the development of early life by offering both warmth and a steady supply of nutrients. Extreme temperatures also played a role in early Earth's evolution. The planet's surface was repeatedly subjected to massive asteroid impacts that generated intense heat, sometimes vaporizing entire regions of the ocean and disrupting the surface crust. However, these impacts also helped to catalyze chemical reactions, dispersing heat and minerals across the globe, which contributed to an increasingly diverse and complex landscape. As Earth's crust stabilized, heat from the mantle continued to drive tectonic and volcanic activity, shaping the planet's surface and redistributing nutrients essential for life. The combination of volcanic islands, hydrothermal vents, and nutrient-rich waters created localized environments with unique chemical and thermal properties. These extreme conditions, while challenging, fostered the development of the first self-replicating molecules, providing an energy source that early life could exploit. The interplay of volcanism, tectonic movement, and high temperatures formed a mosaic of habitats where life's building blocks could accumulate and react, establishing the earliest ecological niches. This volcanic and thermal activity laid the physical and chemical foundation for the origin of life, creating the environments that would give rise to Earth's earliest living organisms. How could the earliest organic molecules have formed, and what are the theories on how these molecules evolved into the first cells? The formation of the earliest organic molecules on Earth likely resulted from a perfect storm of chemical interactions, energy sources, and environmental conditions. During the Archean Eon, the planet's atmosphere contained a mix of gases, including methane, ammonia, water vapor, and hydrogen. These gases provided the foundation for life's essential molecules when they interacted with energy sources such as ultraviolet radiation from the sun, volcanic heat, and lightning. Experiments like the famous Miller-Urey experiment have shown that when energy is applied to a mixture of these gases, amino acids and other organic molecules, the building blocks of proteins, DNA, and RNA can form spontaneously. This discovery suggests that life's raw ingredients could have originated from simple chemical reactions on early Earth. As these organic molecules accumulated in shallow pools or mineral-rich hydrothermal vents, they concentrated and began to interact more frequently, forming increasingly complex structures. The next step in the evolution of life likely involved these molecules combining to create larger and more stable compounds, like proteins and nucleic acids. RNA, a simpler precursor to DNA, is thought to have played a central role in early life due to its ability to both store information and catalyze chemical reactions. The RNA world hypothesis posits that self-replicating RNA molecules could have been the first genetic material, paving the way for the development of more complex structures. The transition from organic molecules to primitive cells was a monumental leap. Researchers propose that lipids, or fat-like molecules, spontaneously formed spheres or membranes in water, trapping organic molecules inside and creating the first simple cell-like structures called protocells. These protocells provided a protected environment for RNA and other molecules to interact, allowing for chemical reactions that eventually led to self-replication. With time, these protocells became more complex, developing metabolic pathways that allowed them to harness energy from their surroundings and maintain their structure. The gradual accumulation of complexity within protocells set the stage for the first true cells, which could grow, replicate, and evolve. This step marked the beginning of biological evolution, where natural selection favored those cells that could adapt to early Earth's challenging conditions. From these simple cells arose the diversity of life that would eventually populate the planet, creating a bridge from chemistry to biology that shaped Earth's future. How did single-celled organisms like prokaryotes pave the way for the evolution of more complex life in Earth's early oceans? Single-celled organisms known as prokaryotes, which include bacteria and archaea, were Earth's first living entities and set the stage for all complex life to come. These organisms were incredibly versatile and efficient, able to thrive in the extreme conditions of early Earth, from volcanic hydrothermal vents to oxygen-poor oceans. Prokaryotes were particularly adept at extracting energy from their environments, using processes like fermentation and eventually photosynthesis. Photosynthetic bacteria, such as cyanobacteria, were game changers. By converting sunlight into energy and releasing oxygen as a byproduct, cyanobacteria slowly enriched Earth's atmosphere with oxygen, leading to the Great Oxygenation Event. This shift drastically altered the environment, making it possible for aerobic organisms, which rely on oxygen to produce energy, to thrive. As prokaryotes diversified, they adapted to numerous ecological niches, developing metabolic pathways that allowed them to survive in almost any condition. Some prokaryotes became specialized in breaking down complex molecules, while others developed ways to convert nitrogen into a usable form, which became essential for life's biochemical processes. The versatility and adaptability of prokaryotes fostered a microbial ecosystem that supported and recycled nutrients, creating a balanced system that sustained life in the ancient oceans. These early microbial communities transformed Earth's oceans into vibrant habitats, with prokaryotes forming mats and colonies that would become the basis for early ecosystems. The transition to more complex life forms occurred through a process called endosymbiosis, where certain prokaryotes began to live inside others in mutually beneficial relationships. This relationship eventually led to the formation of eukaryotic cells, cells with a nucleus and organelles like mitochondria and chloroplasts. These organelles, which originated from free-living prokaryotes, enabled eukaryotes to carry out more specialized and efficient cellular functions. Mitochondria allowed cells to harness energy more effectively through aerobic respiration, while chloroplasts enabled photosynthesis in plant cells. The emergence of eukaryotic cells opened the door for multicellularity as groups of cells began working together, forming the first simple multicellular organisms. By developing specialized functions within larger organisms, eukaryotes paved the way for the complex life forms that would eventually populate Earth. Prokaryotes, with their adaptability and evolutionary innovations, provided the foundation on which all subsequent life was built, transforming Earth's early oceans into cradles of evolutionary potential. Their role in setting the stage for complexity cannot be overstated, as they mark the beginning of an unbroken chain of life that leads directly to the diversity we see today. How did the first photosynthetic organisms produce oxygen, and what effects did this have on Earth's atmosphere and environment? The first photosynthetic organisms, particularly cyanobacteria, revolutionized Earth's atmosphere by introducing oxygen, a process that transformed both the environment and the possibilities for life. Cyanobacteria, thriving in Earth's early oceans, used sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into glucose, a process that released oxygen as a byproduct. Unlike previous life forms that relied on simpler energy extraction methods like fermentation, cyanobacteria developed a biochemical pathway known as oxygenic photosynthesis, which harnessed solar energy with unprecedented efficiency. This ability to tap into an abundant energy source, sunlight, gave cyanobacteria a competitive edge, allowing them to spread rapidly across ancient oceans. As cyanobacteria proliferated, oxygen levels in the oceans began to rise. At first, this oxygen reacted with iron dissolved in the water, creating iron oxide that settled to the ocean floor. This process left behind striking red bands in the geological record, known as banded iron formations, which serve as a testament to the initial buildup of oxygen. Over millions of years, as more iron was used up, oxygen began to accumulate in the water and eventually escaped into the atmosphere. This transition is known as the Great Oxygenation Event, marking a point when oxygen started to transform Earth's atmosphere in ways that would set the stage for the evolution of more complex life. The introduction of oxygen created a new chemical environment that was both a blessing and a challenge. For many anaerobic organisms, those that thrived in oxygen-free environments, this was a toxic change. Oxygen is highly reactive and can damage cellular structures, so these organisms were forced into isolated, oxygen-free niches or faced extinction. For other organisms, oxygen provided new energy opportunities. Cells capable of tolerating oxygen could harness it for a more efficient form of metabolism known as aerobic respiration, which produces much more energy than anaerobic processes. This energy boost allowed for greater cellular complexity, paving the way for the evolution of eukaryotes and ultimately multicellular life. The impact of the Great Oxygenation Event was profound. The transformation of Earth's atmosphere made it possible for life to diversify and expand, creating new ecological niches and preparing the planet for the rise of more complex organisms. This surge in oxygen was the catalyst that opened up evolutionary pathways, leading to organisms that would dominate Earth's future ecosystems. What were the consequences of oxygenation for early organisms, and how did it push the evolution of multicellular life? The oxygenation of Earth's atmosphere, while transformative, posed a significant threat to many of the planet's early organisms. Most early life forms were anaerobic, meaning they thrived in environments without oxygen. To these organisms, oxygen was a highly toxic substance that disrupted their cellular processes and caused oxidative stress, damaging cellular membranes and genetic material. As oxygen levels increased in the oceans and atmosphere, anaerobic life faced an environmental crisis that forced it into deep-sea hydrothermal vents, mud layers, and other oxygen-poor habitats. The organisms that survived had to adapt to this drastic change, while many others became extinct, unable to cope with the oxidative effects of this new element. For organisms that could tolerate or even exploit oxygen, however, this shift represented a groundbreaking opportunity. Some microbes developed mechanisms to detoxify oxygen, which led to the evolution of aerobic respiration, a much more efficient way of producing energy. Aerobic respiration allowed cells to extract significantly more energy from the same amount of nutrients, facilitating larger cell sizes and more complex cellular structures. With the extra energy provided by aerobic metabolism, these organisms could afford to invest in specialized cellular machinery and functions, setting the stage for the development of eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotes, with their internal compartments like mitochondria and nuclei, represent a leap in complexity, enabling more sophisticated biological processes. The rise of oxygen also fostered interactions among cells, an essential step toward multicellularity. As certain organisms developed tolerance to oxygen, they began forming symbiotic relationships, where different cell types work together for mutual benefit. Some cells, for instance, may have provided oxygen processing abilities, while others specialized in nutrient processing, creating a collaborative structure that eventually gave rise to multicellular organisms. This cooperation between cells allowed for the division of labor, making it possible for organisms to develop specialized tissues and organs. The oxygenation of Earth's atmosphere was a pivotal force that pushed life toward complexity. By favoring aerobic processes, it gave rise to organisms that could sustain greater size, increased specialization, and cooperative cellular networks. Multicellular life emerged from this shift, with organisms that could not only survive in oxygenated environments, but thrive and evolve into the myriad forms that would eventually populate Earth's ecosystems. The Great Oxygenation Event, with all its challenges and opportunities, ultimately laid the groundwork for the diverse tapestry of life that followed. What drove the Cambrian explosion, and how did this event lead to a dramatic increase in biological diversity? The Cambrian explosion, occurring around 541 million years ago, marked a turning point in Earth's history, bringing forth an extraordinary surge in biodiversity that would forever shape the course of evolution. Although life existed in simpler forms before this event, the Cambrian period ignited an evolutionary firestorm that led to the rapid appearance of most major animal groups that still populate Earth today. Scientists believe several key factors contributed to this explosion of life, each amplifying the effects of the others in a domino-like sequence that propelled biodiversity to new heights. One crucial factor was the increase in atmospheric and oceanic oxygen levels, which had been building since the Great Oxygenation Event. This surge in oxygen enabled organisms to grow larger and more complex by supporting higher metabolic rates and more active lifestyles. With greater oxygen availability, cells could produce energy more efficiently, allowing them to evolve into specialized tissues and organs. This boost in oxygen set the stage for organisms to develop new physiological structures, which led to greater complexity and diversity. Another factor was the emergence of predator-prey relationships, which created an arms race in evolution. Fossil evidence from the Cambrian period shows the development of hard shells, exoskeletons, and other defensive adaptations, which evolved as a response to new predatory behaviors. As predators developed methods for hunting, such as jaws and improved mobility, prey species were forced to adapt defensively, leading to thicker shells, spines, and enhanced sensory organs. This interaction between predator and prey drove natural selection in an unprecedented way, rapidly increasing diversity as organisms adapted to new threats and opportunities. Environmental changes, such as the breakup of continental masses and shifts in ocean chemistry, may have provided additional ecological niches. Shallow seas formed, rich in nutrients, which supported diverse marine life and encouraged species to adapt to different habitats. Genetic innovation played its part as well. The evolution of complex genetic regulatory systems allowed organisms to develop a wider variety of body plans. Small changes in these genetic systems could lead to significant physical differences, enabling organisms to explore new ecological roles and diversify rapidly. The combination of oxygen, ecological interactions, environmental changes, and genetic advances set off a cascade of evolutionary possibilities. Within a few million years, life on Earth transformed from simple, soft-bodied creatures into a vibrant array of forms, each with specialized roles, in an increasingly complex ecosystem. How did the development of hard body parts like skeletons, shells, and other structures affect the evolution of predators and prey? The development of hard body parts during the Cambrian explosion was a transformative event that dramatically altered the interactions between predators and prey, reshaping the very fabric of life in Earth's oceans. Hard shells, exoskeletons, and mineralized structures provided a new level of protection for many species, allowing them to defend against predators in ways that were previously impossible. This evolution of protective body parts triggered an evolutionary arms race, where both predators and prey had to continually adapt to survive. For prey animals, hard body structures provided a crucial defense mechanism. Soft-bodied creatures were highly vulnerable, but the evolution of shells and armor offered them a way to avoid becoming easy meals. Trilobites, one of the most iconic groups of the Cambrian period, developed segmented, calcified exoskeletons that shielded their soft tissues from predators. These protective structures gave them a survival advantage, making it harder for predators to penetrate their defenses. Meanwhile, brachiopods and mollusks evolved robust shells that could withstand attacks, allowing them to inhabit more open environments and avoid constant predation pressure. The evolution of hard parts also had a significant impact on the predators of the Cambrian seas. With prey now better protected, predators faced new challenges, driving the evolution of more sophisticated hunting techniques. Predatory organisms began to develop specialized appendages, such as grasping claws and sharper jaws, to overcome the defenses of armored prey. Anomalocaris, one of the earliest known apex predators, had appendages equipped with spiny, grasping structures that allowed it to catch and crush hard-shelled prey. These adaptations represented a fundamental shift in hunting strategies, as predators learned to exploit the newfound diversity of prey defenses. The presence of hard body parts also led to new sensory and movement adaptations in both predator and prey. As prey evolved to be more mobile to avoid capture, predators, in turn, developed improved vision and faster locomotion to keep up. The emergence of complex eyes, like those seen in trilobites, allowed both predators and prey to detect each other from greater distances, heightening the dynamics of pursuit and escape in these early ecosystems. This constant interaction created an environment where adaptability was essential, and species that could not keep up with the pace of evolution were left behind. The development of hard structures thus catalyzed a new level of ecological interaction, promoting innovation and specialization among species. These adaptations led to a more structured food web, where each new defensive or offensive trait opened up fresh opportunities and challenges in the evolutionary game. The diversity of life forms that emerged during the Cambrian reflects the profound impact of these early arms races, which laid the foundation for the complex predator-prey relationships that continue to shape life on Earth. What adaptations did the first tetrapods develop to survive on land, and how did they differ from their aquatic ancestors? The journey of tetrapods from water to land was one of the most ambitious evolutionary leaps, requiring profound physical adaptations to overcome the challenges of a terrestrial environment. These early tetrapods, which evolved from lobe-finned fish around 375 million years ago, faced a completely different world than the underwater realm they left behind. Their success on land hinged on key adaptations that enabled them to breathe, move, and support themselves in a gravity-dominated environment. One of the most critical adaptations was the development of limbs capable of bearing weight. Unlike fins, which work well in water but provide little support on land, the limbs of early tetrapods had sturdy, jointed bones capable of supporting their bodies. These limbs evolved from the muscular, lobed fins of their aquatic ancestors, with bones gradually rearranging to form structures that allowed for lifting and movement on solid ground. Creatures like Tiktaalik, a transitional fossil with both fish and tetrapod features, showcased this transition beautifully. Its fins had evolved wrist-like joints, enabling it to push itself up in shallow water and make limited movements on land. Over time, these fin limbs developed into the 4 robust limbs that define tetrapods, providing stability and mobility in a gravity-rich environment. Breathing air was another major challenge, and early tetrapods adapted by evolving lungs. Their fish ancestors likely had simple lungs or air sacs, which initially developed to help them survive in oxygen-poor water. Tetrapods refined these structures to extract oxygen from the air, allowing them to spend extended periods on land. Some early tetrapods also retained gills, which allowed them to live in amphibious habitats, bridging the gap between water and land environments. This dual respiratory system gave them flexibility, enabling them to explore new niches that purely aquatic animals couldn't access. Tetrapods also faced the need to sense their surroundings in new ways. On land, they adapted their sensory organs for detecting airborne sounds and scents. Their eyes evolved to see clearly above water, with eyelids and tear glands developing to keep their eyes moist in the drier air. These sensory adaptations allowed them to detect prey, predators, and mates on land, giving them a broader awareness of their terrestrial environment. Each of these adaptations enabled early tetrapods to make their mark on land, transforming them from water-bound creatures to pioneers of a new ecological frontier. How did the transition from water to land affect biodiversity? And what evolutionary opportunities did this shift open for future animal groups? The transition from water to land was a monumental evolutionary event that set the stage for an explosion of biodiversity as life expanded into previously inaccessible terrestrial habitats. As tetrapods established themselves on land, they created opportunities for new ecosystems to emerge, altering the course of life on Earth. This shift marked the beginning of vertebrate terrestrial dominance, as animals evolved to exploit the unique conditions and resources available on land. With the emergence of tetrapods, new ecological niches opened up. For the first time, vertebrates could explore forests, swamps, and open plains, feeding on terrestrial plants, insects, and other small organisms. Unlike aquatic environments, land presented diverse habitats with distinct microclimates and a wide range of food sources. As early tetrapods adapted to these varied conditions, they diversified rapidly, with some species becoming herbivores while others took on predatory roles. This diversification created complex food webs and marked the beginning of terrestrial ecosystems as we know them. The transition to land also encouraged the evolution of new body forms and physiological traits. Without the buoyancy of water to support them, tetrapods developed stronger skeletal structures to combat gravity. This requirement for structural support led to a wide array of body shapes and sizes, each adapted to the demands of life on land. As some tetrapods grew larger to exploit new food sources, others evolved smaller, more agile forms to navigate dense vegetation or burrow into the ground, fostering greater morphological diversity. The shift to land had far-reaching consequences for reproductive strategies as well. In water, eggs can develop without drying out, but on land, animals face the risk of desiccation. This challenge eventually led to the evolution of the amniotic egg, which encased the developing embryo in a protective membrane, allowing it to retain moisture and survive in dry environments. This adaptation gave rise to amniotes, the group that includes reptiles, birds, and mammals, and allowed them to colonize areas far from water sources. By breaking free from the need to lay eggs in water, these animals could spread to even the driest and most inhospitable regions, paving the way for the rise of reptiles and eventually the dinosaurs. The movement of life from water to land revolutionized Earth's ecosystems, expanding the scope of biodiversity and setting off an evolutionary cascade. By establishing themselves on land, early tetrapods unlocked a world of evolutionary possibilities that would shape the future of life, allowing vertebrates to dominate terrestrial ecosystems and adapt to countless environments over millions of years. What unique traits allowed the earliest dinosaurs to survive and dominate in the harsh conditions of the Triassic period? The Triassic period was a time of scorching deserts, vast barren landscapes, and unpredictable climate shifts. Life was tough, and survival demanded resilience and adaptability. Against these odds, the first dinosaurs emerged, finding ways to thrive in a landscape dominated by early reptiles and sprawling forests. The traits that allowed them to survive and eventually dominate were forged in this harsh, competitive world, and it was precisely these unique adaptations that helped dinosaurs carve out a niche for themselves in the Triassic ecosystem. One of the primary traits that set early dinosaurs apart was their upright, bipedal stance. Unlike other reptiles that sprawled close to the ground, early dinosaurs evolved a unique hip structure that allowed their legs to extend straight down from their bodies. This upright stance not only gave them height and visibility over the landscape, but also allowed them to run faster and with greater endurance. With their legs positioned beneath them, these early dinosaurs could cover ground more efficiently, making them effective hunters or foragers who could escape predators or quickly seize opportunities to capture prey. This stance also allowed for a greater range of movement, making it easier for them to maneuver in the uneven, challenging terrains of the Triassic. Early dinosaurs also evolved lighter, hollow bones, a feature that would later become even more pronounced in theropods and the ancestors of birds. This skeletal structure made them faster and more agile, giving them an edge over their slower, heavier competition. The lighter bone structure also reduced energy demands, allowing them to survive with less food and making them less vulnerable to the scarce resources that characterized much of the Triassic landscape. Some of these early dinosaurs, like Eoraptor, had sharp, serrated teeth suited for a carnivorous or omnivorous diet, which enabled them to adapt to various food sources as environments changed. Additionally, their adaptability in terms of diet played a crucial role in their survival. While some species were primarily carnivorous, others evolved to be omnivorous, capable of eating plants, small animals, and insects. This dietary flexibility was a significant advantage in a time when food resources could vary greatly due to climate instability. As droughts and floods reshaped the land, dinosaurs with versatile diets could exploit a wider range of food sources than their more specialized competitors, giving them a distinct survival advantage in unpredictable environments. These early adaptations, upright posture, lightweight skeletons, and dietary versatility, allowed the first dinosaurs to stand out in the Triassic period. They were agile, fast, and adaptable, traits that would set the foundation for their dominance in the millions of years to come. How did competition with other prehistoric reptiles shape the early evolution of dinosaurs? In the bustling, predator-filled ecosystems of the Triassic period, dinosaurs weren't the only contenders fighting for survival. They shared their world with an array of powerful prehistoric reptiles, including archosaurs, rauisuchians, and the mighty crocodilian ancestors. This competitive environment put relentless pressure on dinosaurs to evolve quickly, honing their adaptations to outcompete their rivals. In a world where predators were everywhere and food was scarce, only the fittest survived, and competition with these formidable reptiles forced dinosaurs to develop traits that would set them apart. One of the biggest challenges early dinosaurs faced was the presence of large, predatory reptiles, many of which were stronger and more powerful than the dinosaurs of that time. Rauisuchians, for instance, were massive land predators that dominated much of the Triassic, with strong limbs, sharp teeth, and a powerful build. These creatures ruled the land, and dinosaurs like Herrerasaurus, one of the earliest known predatory dinosaurs, had to rely on speed and agility to compete. Herrerasaurus developed a long, flexible neck and sharp claws, allowing it to strike swiftly at smaller prey and escape larger predators. Unlike the slower-moving reptiles around it, Herrerasaurus could chase down prey with greater efficiency, giving it a niche in a landscape where brute strength often determined survival. While many of these other prehistoric reptiles were highly specialized, dinosaurs continued to evolve traits that made them more versatile. As omnivorous or adaptable carnivores, some dinosaurs could survive on a wider range of food sources, while competitors like rauisuchians remained limited to specific prey. This allowed dinosaurs to survive periods of scarcity, filling roles as scavengers, hunters, and even foragers. Adaptability became their advantage, and this flexibility gave them the resilience needed to weather environmental changes and fluctuations in prey availability. Another factor that shaped dinosaur evolution was the need to avoid becoming prey themselves. In a land where predators prowled, early herbivorous dinosaurs like Plateosaurus evolved sharp thumb claws which may have been used for self-defense. These herbivores also developed longer necks, allowing them to reach vegetation in places other herbivores couldn't access. This adaptation gave them a feeding advantage and reduced competition with other herbivorous reptiles. Meanwhile, their sheer size began to offer protection from smaller predators, further boosting their chances of survival. The intense competition with other Triassic reptiles drove dinosaurs to evolve specialized traits, from swift, agile bodies to defensive features. In a world where survival required constant adaptation and competition was fierce, dinosaurs adapted quickly, setting the stage for their rise as some of the most dominant creatures in Earth's history. How did the warmer global temperatures of the Mesozoic era influence dinosaur size and behavior? Imagine a world where the air is thick, the temperatures are consistently high, and lush vegetation blankets the Earth. The Mesozoic era, often referred to as the Age of Dinosaurs, was marked by a notably warm climate with no polar ice caps, which created vast, humid environments ripe for life. This consistent warmth was a key factor influencing the development of some of the largest creatures to ever walk the Earth. With an abundance of plant life thriving in the high temperatures, herbivorous dinosaurs like Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus grew to massive sizes, able to sustain themselves on vast quantities of vegetation that flourished year-round. The warm climate not only supported dense forests and plentiful food sources, but also contributed to the unique physiology of these giants. Higher temperatures allowed these massive dinosaurs to grow without the energy demands that cold-blooded reptiles face in cooler climates. Unlike today's mammals, which expend considerable energy maintaining their body temperatures, dinosaurs could take advantage of the warm environment to fuel their growth with minimal metabolic costs. This thermal advantage allowed for an evolutionary pathway toward gigantism, particularly among the herbivores, who could grow large enough to reach treetops, monopolizing the plentiful foliage with little competition from smaller animals. Carnivorous dinosaurs also adapted to the climate, with species like Tyrannosaurus rex and Allosaurus developing behaviors and hunting strategies suited to warmer, more stable conditions. These predators likely roamed across vast territories, with the warm climate ensuring year-round food availability as herbivores thrived on the abundant vegetation. The relative stability of the Mesozoic climate meant that these hunters could adapt to a consistent food supply without needing to hibernate or significantly alter their hunting methods throughout the year. This likely contributed to the evolution of large-bodied predators who could store energy effectively between meals, adapting to a life of waiting for large prey to pass within striking distance. Beyond sheer size, the warm climate encouraged the evolution of social behaviors among certain dinosaur species. Herds of herbivores, such as hadrosaurs, likely took advantage of the food-rich landscape by migrating in large groups across forested areas and plains. By living in herds, they could better manage the dangers posed by large predators and increase their chances of survival. The warm temperatures allowed for social dynamics to flourish, as herbivores and carnivores alike moved in coordinated patterns, following food sources and marking territories in landscapes where resources were abundant yet concentrated. The warm, stable Mesozoic climate was more than just a backdrop. It created the conditions that allowed dinosaurs to grow to incredible sizes, develop unique behaviors, and form complex social structures. The constant warmth fostered an ecosystem where life could not only survive, but thrive on an unprecedented scale, shaping the behaviors and physical adaptations of dinosaurs for millions of years. What adaptations did dinosaurs develop to survive drastic environmental changes, like droughts and intense storms? Picture a landscape where rivers dry up, once green plains turn dusty and barren, and fierce storms sweep through, uprooting trees and reshaping the land. The Mesozoic era, while warm, was also marked by extreme weather events that periodically disrupted the stable environments dinosaurs relied on. Dinosaurs had to adapt to these sudden environmental changes, developing survival strategies and physical traits that allowed them to withstand periods of scarcity and chaos. One of the most critical adaptations was resource flexibility. Herbivorous dinosaurs, such as hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, evolved specialized teeth that allowed them to process a variety of plant materials. Their complex dental structures, like the grinding teeth of hadrosaurs, enabled them to consume tough, fibrous plants that other species couldn't eat, giving them an edge during droughts when softer plants and fresh foliage became scarce. With the ability to survive on hardy vegetation, these dinosaurs could endure harsh seasons by switching their diet to whatever plant life remained, even as rivers and lakes dried up around them. Carnivorous dinosaurs also adapted strategies to cope with scarcity. Some predators, like Tyrannosaurus rex, likely scavenged during tough times, taking advantage of carcasses left behind by storms or drought-induced die-offs. This scavenging behavior would have been essential during periods when herbivores struggled, giving carnivores a secondary food source when hunting opportunities diminished. These predators may also have relied on water holes as gathering spots, waiting for weakened or thirsty herbivores to approach, making it easier to catch prey with minimal effort. Physical endurance became another valuable trait, especially in the face of long-distance migration. When faced with drought or habitat loss, dinosaurs like the massive Apatosaurus and migratory herbivores were able to travel great distances in search of new food sources and water. Their strong, pillar-like legs were built to support long journeys, allowing them to move through barren landscapes in search of sustenance. Fossilized trackways reveal long paths, indicating that certain dinosaur species traveled together over vast distances, likely driven by resource scarcity or environmental upheaval. Some dinosaurs may have also sought shelter in familiar territory during storms, using the dense forest cover for protection from strong winds and flooding rains. The heightened sense of smell in certain species would have been useful, allowing them to detect and seek out shelter in caves or under rocky overhangs. The instinct to find protection during intense weather would have been vital, as powerful storms could strip entire regions of vegetation and pose a deadly threat to young or vulnerable individuals. The dramatic environmental changes of the Mesozoic required dinosaurs to be resourceful, adaptable, and resilient. From dietary flexibility and scavenging habits to migration and storm-sheltering behavior, dinosaurs evolved a range of survival tactics that allowed them to thrive in a world where nature could change in an instant. The ability to navigate these extremes of abundance and scarcity became a hallmark of their resilience, enabling them to survive and flourish in an ever-shifting landscape. What evidence suggests that some dinosaurs, like hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, traveled in herds, and how might this have helped them survive? Fossilized trackways, bone beds, and nesting grounds all hint at the presence of herding behavior among certain dinosaur species, particularly in groups like hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. Trackways, for instance, have been discovered with multiple sets of footprints moving in the same direction, with smaller prints often positioned in the middle of larger ones. This arrangement suggests that adults were moving together in organized groups, possibly forming a protective ring around their young, similar to the herd behavior seen in some modern mammals. Moving in herds likely offered these herbivorous dinosaurs essential advantages in a world filled with large predators. Safety in numbers was perhaps the most significant advantage. By traveling in large groups, hadrosaurs and ceratopsians could protect weaker or younger individuals from predators like Tyrannosaurus rex or Allosaurus. In a herd, individuals on the outer edges acted as sentinels, increasing the chance of spotting an approaching predator in time for the group to react. The mere size and movement of a herd would have been intimidating to many predators, who would face the challenge of breaking through a unified group to reach a single target. Additionally, predators would risk injury by trying to take on a tightly packed herd, reducing the likelihood of attack. Beyond protection from predators, herding also offered social benefits, strengthening bonds within groups and facilitating group migration. Moving in coordinated herds meant that individuals could communicate and share information about nearby food sources, especially in times of scarcity. Fossilized bone beds, where many individuals of the same species are found together, suggest that herds also likely provided comfort and social support. In harsh conditions or long migrations, younger or injured individuals might rely on the herd's pace, benefiting from the structured, coordinated movement of their group. In addition to survival, herd living helped these dinosaurs in breeding and rearing offspring. Many fossilized nesting sites reveal clusters of nests arranged in specific patterns, with dinosaurs returning to the same grounds year after year. The gathering of multiple family groups in one area allowed for communal nesting, where more experienced adults could defend nests from predators, while others focused on foraging. For ceratopsians and hadrosaurs, moving and living in herds offered both safety and a stable social structure that enhanced their ability to survive in a landscape filled with both environmental dangers and lurking predators. How did certain dinosaur species care for their young? And what does this tell us about their level of social complexity? Fossilized nesting sites reveal astonishing insights into the parental care practices of certain dinosaurs, painting a picture of complex social structures. Dinosaurs like Maiasaura, whose name fittingly means good mother lizard, provide a fascinating example of nurturing behavior. At Maiasaura nesting sites, fossils of juveniles, hatchlings, and unhatched eggs have been discovered in close proximity, suggesting that these dinosaurs returned to the same nesting grounds seasonally, forming colonies where parents tended to their young. Hatchlings found with bones that were still developing, too weak to walk or forage on their own, suggest that parents likely brought food to the nest, providing a level of care previously thought to be exclusive to mammals and birds. The physical structure of Maiasaura nests supports the theory of extended parental care. These nests were carefully constructed with soft vegetation, indicating that adults took the time to build secure, warm environments for their eggs. Returning to the same nesting grounds every season would have allowed these dinosaurs to create familiar, protected spaces for their young, fostering strong family bonds within the group. This nurturing behavior also suggests that Maiasaura lived in relatively stable social groups, where cooperation among individuals was vital to their survival. Other dinosaurs, like Oviraptor, exhibit signs of dedicated parental care through the act of brooding. Fossilized remains of Oviraptor adults have been found positioned atop their nests, encircling eggs with their limbs in a manner remarkably similar to modern birds. This behavior indicates that Oviraptor likely protected its eggs from predators and environmental threats, regulating temperature by remaining close to the nest. These brooding fossils point to a sophisticated level of care where dinosaurs didn't merely lay eggs and abandon them, but actively invested time and energy into ensuring the survival of their offspring. The clustering of nests in certain sites also reveals that some dinosaurs likely nested in colonies, much like modern seabirds or penguins. Nesting in large groups would have provided additional protection against predators, allowing parents to work together to guard their young. The communal aspect of nesting hints at an advanced social structure, where cooperation and shared responsibility for the colony's safety played a critical role. The evidence of parental care in the fossil record challenges the traditional view of dinosaurs as purely instinct-driven animals, showing instead a capacity for complex social interactions and nurturing behaviors. This glimpse into their family dynamics suggests a prehistoric world where dinosaurs not only survived, but formed lasting social bonds, shaping the lives of future generations in ways that echo the behavior of modern animals. How did sauropods like Brachiosaurus manage to grow so large on a diet of plants? And what adaptations helped them sustain their massive bodies? Sauropods, the colossal giants of the dinosaur world, developed an impressive suite of adaptations that allowed them to thrive on a plant-based diet and reach sizes unmatched by any other land animals. With their long necks and enormous bodies, sauropods like Brachiosaurus could access vast quantities of foliage that other herbivores couldn't reach, allowing them to consume large amounts of food to fuel their incredible growth. Their elongated necks, which contained numerous vertebrae supported by robust ligamentous structures, gave them access to high branches, a level of vertical foraging that no other herbivores could match. By stretching out their necks, sauropods could feed over a wide area without needing to move their massive bodies, conserving energy as they grazed across vast areas of vegetation. Their digestive systems were equally extraordinary, adapted to process the tough, fibrous plants that dominated the Mesozoic landscapes. Sauropods had enormous guts capable of slow fermentation, where microorganisms helped break down plant matter over extended periods, extracting maximum nutrition from each mouthful. Unlike many modern herbivores, sauropods likely didn't chew their food. Instead, they used their peg-like teeth to strip leaves, swallowing them whole, letting their massive stomachs handle the breakdown process. The long digestion time within their expansive gut allowed them to process low-nutrient food efficiently, a critical adaptation given their size and the high caloric demands of their bodies. Another adaptation aiding their survival was their unique respiratory system. Sauropods are believed to have had a system of air sacs, similar to that of modern birds, which allowed air to flow continuously through their lungs in a one-way system. This adaptation made oxygen intake efficient and enabled their massive bodies to stay well oxygenated even as they carried out energy-intensive activities. With the ability to process large amounts of oxygen, these giants could support their considerable mass while maintaining the stamina necessary to forage continuously. The structure of sauropod bones also contributed to their colossal size. Their vertebrae and limb bones were filled with air spaces, reducing their weight without compromising strength. This skeletal structure made their bodies easier to support on land, enabling them to reach heights that allowed them to forage across entire treetops. These features combined to form an efficient, energy-conserving machine, perfectly tuned for life as the largest plant eaters on Earth, feeding at the top of an ecosystem shaped by their enormous presence. What role did sauropods play in shaping the ecosystems they lived in, and how did their presence impact plant diversity? Sauropods, as massive as they were, played a fundamental role in the ecosystems of the Mesozoic, acting as both shapers and sustainers of the environment around them. By feeding on vast quantities of vegetation daily, these giants were natural landscapers, constantly altering the composition of the plant communities in their habitats. As they moved through forests and plains, grazing on trees and shrubs, They opened up space in the forest canopy, allowing sunlight to reach lower-growing plants that would otherwise be shaded out. This continual browsing and trampling not only prevented certain plants from becoming overgrown, but also encouraged a greater diversity of vegetation, from hardy, tall trees to low-lying shrubs and grasses. The impact of sauropod foraging extended beyond just creating openings for other plants. Their sheer size meant they could uproot entire trees or strip branches bare, forcing certain plant species to evolve defensive strategies like tough, fibrous leaves or thorny branches to deter feeding. This interaction fostered an evolutionary arms race between sauropods and plants, driving plants to become more resilient and diversified as they adapted to survive heavy browsing. This dynamic interaction was essential to maintaining a balanced ecosystem, as plants that could survive sauropod grazing proliferated and shaped the dietary options for other herbivorous species. Sauropods also played a crucial role in nutrient cycling within their environments. As they consumed massive amounts of vegetation, their digestion processes broke down plant material, which they then returned to the soil as droppings. These droppings enriched the soil with essential nutrients, fueling the growth of new plants and fostering healthy, fertile ground. This natural recycling process supported the entire ecosystem, ensuring that other plant eaters could benefit from the revitalized vegetation that flourished in the wake of sauropod foraging. Even small ground-dwelling creatures benefited from this process, as nutrient-rich soil created habitats teeming with plant and insect life. Moreover, sauropod migratory patterns helped spread seeds across large areas. As they moved from one area to another in search of food, seeds from various plants could pass through their digestive systems, often landing in new locations and allowing for plant dispersal on a scale unmatched by any other animal in their ecosystem. This spread of plant species promoted genetic diversity within plant communities, enabling them to adapt to environmental pressures and thrive in different conditions. The presence of sauropods thus fostered a dynamic, ever-evolving ecosystem that was shaped by both the plants that grew and the immense herbivores that fed upon them, establishing a balance that sustained life across prehistoric landscapes. How did predators like Tyrannosaurus rex and Spinosaurus use their physical adaptations to hunt, and what made them successful apex predators? Predators like Tyrannosaurus rex and Spinosaurus dominated their environments with a lethal combination of physical traits that made them the top hunters of their time. T-Rex, for instance, was equipped with one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom. With jaws strong enough to crush bone, T-Rex could take down large herbivores and tear through tough hide and muscle. Its teeth were banana-shaped and serrated, perfect for gripping and ripping, ensuring that once it had its prey, there was little chance of escape. These teeth, combined with the incredible power of its jaw muscles, allowed it to feed on almost any part of the animal, including the bones, giving it access to vital nutrients in the marrow, a trait that helped it thrive as an apex predator. Spinosaurus, on the other hand, was built for a different kind of hunt. Its elongated, crocodile-like snout was filled with conical teeth, ideal for catching fish, its primary prey. Spinosaurus adapted to an aquatic lifestyle, using its unique anatomy to hunt both on land and in water. With strong, clawed forelimbs and a long, powerful tail, Spinosaurus could propel itself through rivers and lakes, where it likely hunted massive fish and other aquatic animals. Unlike T-Rex, which relied on brute strength, Spinosaurus's streamlined body and ability to maneuver in water made it an ambush predator, hiding below the surface and striking quickly. Its versatility in land and water gave it a unique edge, allowing it to dominate in environments where other large predators couldn't compete. The sensory abilities of both predators played a critical role in their hunting success. Studies of T-Rex skulls suggest that it had keen eyesight and a strong sense of smell, allowing it to detect prey from a distance. Spinosaurus likely relied on similar adaptations, using sensory receptors in its snout to detect movement in water, much like modern crocodiles do. These finely tuned senses allowed both predators to locate prey in their respective environments effectively. While T-Rex and Spinosaurus differed in hunting style, they shared one essential trait: an unmatched capacity for adaptation. T-Rex was the king of the land, while Spinosaurus ruled the waterways, both perfectly evolved to dominate their domains. What defensive features did herbivores like Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus evolve to protect themselves from attacks by fierce carnivores? Herbivores like Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus were built not just to eat plants, but to survive in a world where predators lurked at every turn. Ankylosaurus, often called the living tank, was a fortress on 4 legs. Its entire body was covered in thick bony armor called osteoderms, which formed an almost impenetrable shell. Along its back and sides, these armor plates protected it from bites and attacks, acting as a defensive shield against large predators like T-Rex. But Ankylosaurus didn't rely on armor alone. Its tail was equipped with a massive bony club, which could swing with enough force to break the bones of an attacking predator. This tail club was a remarkable defensive weapon, allowing Ankylosaurus to fend off attackers even without the ability to run or hide. For a predator facing Ankylosaurus, attacking meant risking serious injury or even death. Stegosaurus, on the other hand, developed a different defensive strategy. Its most iconic feature was the row of large, bony plates along its back. While the exact function of these plates is still debated, many scientists believe they were used for display, making the animal look larger and more intimidating. But Stegosaurus's true weapon lay in its tail, equipped with long, sharp spikes known as the thagomizer. This tail weapon was capable of delivering a powerful, puncturing blow to any predator that ventured too close. Unlike Ankylosaurus, which used its club to strike from a distance, Stegosaurus likely used its tail to defend itself in close encounters, swinging its spikes with surprising accuracy and power. Both Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus developed features specifically adapted for a defensive role. Their body structures reflect the pressures of constant predation, where physical defense was essential for survival. These herbivores weren't designed for flight, but for resilience. By standing their ground, they forced predators to reconsider attacks, as taking on an armored or spike-wielding herbivore meant facing serious risk. The presence of such formidable defenses in herbivores like Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus shows how prehistoric ecosystems were more than just predator-driven. Each creature evolved not only to survive, but to deter or even counterattack when threatened, creating a world where strength and strategy were as essential for herbivores as they were for. How do scientists estimate the intelligence of different dinosaur species, and what can brain structure tell us about their behavior? Estimating dinosaur intelligence begins with analyzing the fossilized structure of their brains. Although brains themselves don't fossilize, scientists use endocasts, impressions left inside the skull that reveal the shape and size of the brain cavity. By examining these endocasts, researchers can determine which areas of the brain were more developed and draw insights into sensory processing, motor skills, and potentially even cognitive abilities. Species like Troodon, a small theropod with a notably large brain-to-body ratio, are often highlighted as examples of dinosaurs that may have possessed higher cognitive functions. The large size of the cerebrum region in Troodon's endocast suggests a capacity for advanced sensory processing, which could have enabled problem-solving or social interaction. Birds and reptiles, being the closest living relatives of dinosaurs, offer further insights into potential dinosaur intelligence. By comparing the brain structure of dinosaurs to that of birds and reptiles, scientists can infer certain behaviors. In theropods like Velociraptor, brain areas linked to sensory awareness and coordination were particularly developed, similar to those in modern predatory birds like eagles. This suggests that Velociraptor might have had keen sight and spatial awareness, traits that would help in both hunting and avoiding predators. Additionally, the optic lobes of certain dinosaurs hint at well-developed vision, which would have been essential for complex behaviors. For instance, Tyrannosaurus rex had forward-facing eyes, granting it binocular vision and better depth perception, traits associated with advanced hunting strategies. These insights reveal that some predatory dinosaurs may have used calculated, efficient strategies for hunting rather than relying on brute strength alone. Studying the brain structure gives clues not only about physical capabilities, but also about the sensory and behavioral sophistication these animals might have had. The size and complexity of brain structures in certain herbivorous dinosaurs, like hadrosaurs, further reveal hints of social behavior. Fossilized remains of hadrosaur herds, combined with evidence of large brain areas associated with sensory processing, suggest they may have communicated and coordinated within groups. While their intelligence likely differed from that of predatory dinosaurs, these social herbivores may have developed ways to communicate and stay organized, indicating a different but equally complex kind of intelligence. Each discovery of brain structure in dinosaurs opens a window into the behaviors and interactions that made these animals far more than simple instinct-driven creatures. Which dinosaur species show evidence of advanced problem-solving skills, and how might intelligence have helped them survive? Species like Troodon and Deinonychus are often cited for their potential problem-solving skills, an attribute suggested by their relatively large brains and possible pack-hunting behaviors. Fossils of Troodon, for instance, indicate it had one of the largest brain-to-body ratios among dinosaurs, similar to modern birds like crows, known for their impressive cognitive abilities. This anatomical feature suggests that Troodon may have had an advanced level of sensory perception, allowing it to adapt to changing situations in real time. With sharp claws, forward-facing eyes for depth perception, and a keen sense of its surroundings, Troodon could have used problem-solving abilities to hunt or even to navigate its environment more effectively. Deinonychus, another intelligent theropod, offers clues of pack behavior that imply complex social coordination. Fossil evidence of Deinonychus hunting in groups suggests a level of cooperation unusual among reptiles. This pack behavior would require coordination and communication, abilities often linked to intelligence. In order to take down larger prey, Deinonychus likely needed to strategize with other members of its pack, positioning themselves for an efficient, cooperative kill. Such group hunting tactics indicate that these dinosaurs were capable of analyzing their surroundings and adjusting their behavior based on social interactions, skills seen in some of today's smartest predators like wolves and dolphins. Another example of potential problem-solving skills can be seen in Oviraptor. Fossils show Oviraptor in brooding postures over nests, suggesting it cared for its eggs, and its advanced limb dexterity hints that it might have interacted with its environment in more complex ways. By tending to their nests and protecting their young, these dinosaurs displayed a capacity for behaviors that went beyond survival and suggested an understanding of nurturing. The protective strategies required to defend nests from other predators, along with possible ways of covering eggs with vegetation or positioning them safely, indicate a level of forethought and adaptability that goes hand in hand with problem-solving abilities. For these dinosaurs, intelligence wasn't just an interesting trait, it was a survival tool. The ability to think critically, adapt to various situations, and communicate with others provided distinct advantages, whether they were hunting, defending their young, or exploring their environment. In a world filled with powerful predators and environmental challenges, these problem-solving skills gave intelligent dinosaurs a unique edge, setting them apart as remarkably sophisticated creatures in a prehistoric landscape where every advantage counted. How did pterosaurs evolve unique adaptations for flight? And what challenges did they face in the skies above dinosaur-dominated landscapes? Pterosaurs, the first vertebrates to conquer the skies, developed an incredible range of adaptations that allowed them to soar above land-dwelling dinosaurs. One of the most defining features of pterosaurs was their wing structure. Unlike birds, whose wings are made up of feathers extending from their entire forelimb, pterosaur wings were formed by a membrane of skin stretched across a single, elongated fourth finger. This unique structure made their wings lightweight yet strong, perfectly suited for sustained flight and gliding across long distances. Their hollow, air-filled bones further reduced weight without sacrificing strength, giving pterosaurs the lightness they needed to take to the air with ease. In addition to skeletal adaptations, pterosaurs had impressive muscle structures that enabled powerful wing strokes. Large muscles attached to a keeled sternum, a chest bone similar to that of modern birds, provided the strength necessary for active flight. while their long wings allowed them to glide efficiently. This combination of strong wing muscles and aerodynamic structure enabled pterosaurs to navigate the skies with agility, hunting for fish, small reptiles, or even scavenging along coastal regions. Some species, like the giant Quetzalcoatlus, boasted wingspans as wide as small airplanes, allowing them to cover vast distances and likely migrate between seasonal feeding grounds. Yet the skies of the Mesozoic were not without challenges. Pterosaurs faced competition from each other, and in the later stages of the Jurassic, from early birds as well. Different pterosaur species evolved specific niches to minimize competition. Some adapted to skim the water's surface for fish, while others specialized in terrestrial scavenging or hunting small prey. This niche differentiation helped them thrive without overwhelming overlap in resources. Despite their aerial dominance, weather conditions like strong winds and storms would have posed significant risks, particularly for smaller or less experienced pterosaurs, forcing them to evolve navigation skills that balance flight efficiency with survival in challenging weather patterns. The Mesozoic skies were also not entirely predator-free. Some pterosaurs, especially the juveniles and smaller species, may have been vulnerable to attacks by larger land-dwelling carnivores or other pterosaurs. Over time, they evolved keen eyesight, precise control over their flight, and specialized feeding methods, enabling them to survive and flourish in a complex aerial ecosystem that pushed their adaptations to the limits. These unique traits allowed pterosaurs to become the masters of the sky, paving the way for an era where flight became a dominant survival strategy. What features distinguish early birds like Archaeopteryx from non-avian dinosaurs, and how did these adaptations lead to the evolution of modern birds? Early birds like Archaeopteryx sit at the fascinating crossroads between dinosaurs and the avian world. Found in what is now Germany, Archaeopteryx displays a blend of reptilian and bird-like characteristics, bridging the gap between theropod dinosaurs and the birds we know today. Unlike most dinosaurs, Archaeopteryx had feathers, complete with barbs and veins, which allowed for basic flight or at least efficient gliding. These feathers, initially likely evolved for insulation or display in their dinosaurian ancestors, later became central to flight, allowing Archaeopteryx to explore a niche separate from terrestrial and arboreal competitors. Beyond feathers, Archaeopteryx had a wishbone, furcula, which strengthened its chest and acted as an anchor for flight muscles, an essential feature in modern birds that aids in the mechanics of wing flapping. This skeletal adaptation, combined with a lightweight body structure, gave Archaeopteryx the foundation for active flight, although its flight was likely limited to short bursts or glides. Its long, bony tail, unlike the shortened tails of modern birds, helped with balance, while clawed hands provided it with climbing capabilities, suggesting a lifestyle that combined both flight and climbing. These unique traits indicate a creature experimenting with flight in a landscape where terrestrial predators ruled, carving out an entirely new survival strategy. Another notable feature that distinguishes early birds from non-avian dinosaurs is the structure of their lungs. Though soft tissue doesn't fossilize well, the skeletal structure surrounding the ribcage suggests that Archaeopteryx and other early birds had a system similar to the highly efficient respiratory system in modern birds. This one-way airflow mechanism allowed for continuous oxygen exchange, providing the stamina required for flight. This adaptation set early birds apart from their dinosaur relatives, whose respiratory systems were more suited to ground-based, high-energy activity, but less efficient for sustained flight. Over time, these adaptations became more specialized as early birds evolved. Feathers became increasingly optimized for flight, tails shortened to improve aerodynamics, and body sizes decreased to reduce weight. The evolutionary journey from Archaeopteryx to modern birds involved a gradual refinement of flight adaptations, driven by natural selection favoring those better suited for sustained flight, efficient metabolism, and diverse foraging strategies. Through these changes, early birds carved out a new ecological niche that allowed them to thrive alongside and eventually outlast their dinosaurian ancestors, transforming into the avian diversity we see across the globe today. What physical traits allowed marine reptiles like Ichthyosaurus and Mosasaurus to to thrive in the ancient oceans, and how did they compare to today's ocean predators? Marine reptiles like Ichthyosaurus and Mosasaurus developed remarkable adaptations that allowed them to dominate the prehistoric oceans. Ichthyosaurus, with its sleek, fish-like body, was built for speed and agility. Its body was elongated and streamlined, resembling the shape of modern dolphins, which helped it cut through the water with minimal resistance. Large, paddle-like fins enabled rapid changes in direction, crucial for hunting smaller, fast-moving prey. Perhaps most impressive was its tail, which had a crescent-shaped fin similar to that of a tuna or shark, allowing for powerful, propulsive strokes that made Ichthyosaurus one of the fastest swimmers of its time. In contrast, Mosasaurus, a much larger predator, had a long, muscular body and powerful limbs adapted into flippers. While it wasn't as fast as Ichthyosaurus, Mosasaurus used its sheer power and size to ambush prey. Its tail, unlike the tails of land-based reptiles, was flattened vertically, helping it move through the water with a powerful side-to-side motion, much like modern crocodiles. Its jaws were filled with sharp, conical teeth designed to seize and tear apart fish, squid, and even smaller marine reptiles. This formidable predator often hunted in shallow waters and coastal areas, where its size and ambush tactics made it an apex hunter. Both Ichthyosaurus and Mosasaurus possessed large eyes, indicating excellent vision, an adaptation that was particularly valuable in the dim light of deep or murky waters. Ichthyosaurus had even larger eyes relative to its body size, suggesting it may have hunted at considerable depths where light was scarce. This adaptation can be compared to modern deep-sea creatures like the giant squid, which also rely on enhanced vision to detect prey in low-light environments. Unlike today's ocean predators, which often rely on sophisticated social hunting tactics, such as pods of dolphins or packs of orcas, marine reptiles like Mosasaurus and Ichthyosaurus were likely solitary hunters. Their success depended on their physical prowess and adaptations rather than social behavior. These reptiles ruled the prehistoric seas in their respective niches, each finely tuned to different hunting strategies and habitats, from the high-speed chases of Ichthyosaurus to the ambush techniques of Mosasaurus. Their physical traits allowed them to not only survive, but thrive in the dynamic, competitive ecosystems of ancient oceans. How did marine reptiles defend themselves from each other in the fierce, competitive environments of prehistoric seas? In the ancient oceans, competition for survival was intense, with marine reptiles facing threats not only from their own kind, but also from other formidable predators. To survive, many of these reptiles evolved unique defensive strategies and physical features that allowed them to escape, deter, or withstand attacks. For creatures like Plesiosaurus, speed and maneuverability were key. With its long neck and small head, Plesiosaurus could swiftly change direction in the water, giving it an edge in avoiding larger, slower predators. Its streamlined body and powerful flippers enabled bursts of speed that helped it evade threats or retreat to safer depths when danger was near. Ichthyosaurus, another swift swimmer, relied on speed as its primary means of defense. In addition to its streamlined body, Ichthyosaurus had large eyes, which provided keen vision and helped it detect predators from a distance. This adaptation allowed it to spot potential threats early, giving it the chance to either dive deeper or quickly change direction, a strategy similar to how many fish and marine mammals avoid becoming prey today. Its agility and ability to dive quickly were crucial defenses in oceans filled with ambush predators like Mosasaurus. Mosasaurus itself, as one of the top predators, developed features to defend its position at the top of the food chain. Although it was rarely on the defensive, Mosasaurus's powerful jaw and robust body enabled it to fight off any competitors or attackers. Its sheer size and strength acted as a deterrent, ensuring that few marine creatures would challenge it directly. When rival Mosasaurus encountered one another, they likely engaged in combat, using their strong jaws and muscular tails to assert dominance over hunting territories, much like how modern crocodiles establish control in their habitats. Some smaller marine reptiles and fish used more subtle defenses, such as mimicry and camouflage, to blend into their surroundings and avoid attracting the attention of predators like Mosasaurus and Pliosaurus. Certain fish and small reptiles had body colors that matched the ocean floor, providing them with natural camouflage. By blending in with the sandy or rocky seabed, they minimized their chances of being noticed. Others may have had counter-shading, a lighter belly and darker back, which helped them disappear against the ocean's surface when viewed from below or above. These defenses, whether speed, agility, sheer size, or camouflage, shaped a marine ecosystem where survival depended on both offensive and defensive adaptations. In the prehistoric seas, every creature had its own strategy for staying alive, creating a world of constant tension and adaptation where each predator and prey had to continually evolve to navigate the dangers of the ancient oceans. How did the asteroid impact at the end of the Cretaceous period trigger a mass extinction, and what evidence supports this theory? The asteroid impact that marked the end of the Cretaceous period remains one of the most defining events in Earth's history. Scientists have found overwhelming evidence that this catastrophic impact was directly responsible for wiping out nearly 75% of life on Earth, including the dinosaurs. The first and most compelling clue lies in a thin layer of clay found worldwide, dating precisely to the end of the Cretaceous. This layer is rich in iridium, a rare element on Earth but common in asteroids, suggesting an extraterrestrial origin. Known as the KT boundary, this layer provides a timestamp for the disaster that unfolded approximately 66 million years ago. Further evidence comes from the discovery of the Chicxulub crater, a massive impact site buried beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Measuring over 180 kilometers in diameter, this crater aligns perfectly with the timing of the mass extinction and is consistent with the size and force of an asteroid powerful enough to unleash worldwide devastation. The impact would have instantly vaporized everything in its vicinity, sending billions of tons of vaporized rock, dust, and sulfur into the atmosphere. This debris blocked out sunlight for months, leading to a nuclear winter effect that caused global temperatures to plummet, cutting off photosynthesis and collapsing food chains. As plant life died off, herbivorous dinosaurs quickly ran out of food, and the larger meat-eating dinosaurs that depended on them soon followed. Meanwhile, the sulfur and other chemicals ejected into the atmosphere led to acid rain, further poisoning land and sea ecosystems. These rapid, compounded environmental changes left dinosaurs and other large animals with no time to adapt, while smaller creatures, like some mammals and birds, managed to survive by exploiting new ecological niches or enduring harsher conditions in burrows or shelters. Fossil evidence supports the rapid, dramatic nature of this extinction event. Bone beds from the end of the Cretaceous show a sudden decline in dinosaur diversity, while studies of fossilized pollen reveal an abrupt shift from diverse flowering plants to hardy ferns, indicating a devastated, barren landscape. Together, the iridium layer, the Chicxulub crater, and fossil evidence paint a vivid picture of how one asteroid set off a chain of catastrophic events that reshaped life on Earth. Were dinosaurs already in decline before the asteroid impact, or did the extinction event strike an otherwise thriving population? Whether dinosaurs were already struggling or thriving when the asteroid hit has been a topic of ongoing scientific debate. Recent studies suggest that certain groups of dinosaurs may have been in gradual decline during the few million years leading up to the impact, particularly large herbivores like hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. Fossil records from this period show a decrease in the diversity of these plant-eating species, which could indicate they were already facing ecological pressures. This decline might have been influenced by shifting climates and volcanic activity in regions like the Deccan Traps, which would have altered the landscapes and food sources dinosaurs depended on. Volcanic eruptions, particularly in what is now India, released vast amounts of lava, as well as carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, which likely contributed to a warming climate and acidified the oceans. This environmental stress could have affected dinosaur habitats, especially for large herbivores who relied on stable, abundant vegetation. As these changes altered plant communities, it may have become more challenging for herbivores to find enough food, which in turn could have impacted carnivorous dinosaurs by reducing available prey. However, not all groups show signs of decline. Certain theropods, like tyrannosaurs and dromaeosaurs, appear to have been thriving until the very end of the Cretaceous. Some fossil records show evidence of active populations, with various species continuing to diversify in the latest stages of the era. This suggests that, while herbivores were affected by environmental shifts, some carnivores were still adapting successfully and maintaining strong populations, likely filling in ecological gaps left by struggling herbivores. The asteroid impact therefore struck a world in flux, one where some dinosaur groups were adapting and evolving, while others may have already been declining. The impact essentially acted as a final blow, erasing any chance for recovery. Even species that were adapting well couldn't survive the sudden and extreme changes that followed. While some argue that dinosaurs might have continued to evolve and adapt without the impact, the evidence suggests that certain groups were already struggling against gradual environmental changes, setting the stage for the extinction event to be particularly devastating. This layered narrative of ecological strain followed by abrupt catastrophe reveals how complex the path to extinction can be, involving a combination of slow-burning stresses and one sudden, life-altering blow. What evidence do scientists have about the different types of skin coverings that existed across dinosaur species, and how did these evolve over time? Fossil discoveries reveal that dinosaurs exhibited an impressive variety of skin coverings, from scales to feathers, offering hints at a dynamic evolutionary history. Impressions left in sedimentary rock by fossilized skin, scales, and feather-like structures have provided clues that dinosaurs were anything but a uniform group in appearance. Many early dinosaurs, particularly large herbivores like Hadrosaurus, possessed scaly skin similar to that of today's reptiles. Fossilized impressions of their skin reveal a complex arrangement of small, non-overlapping scales covering much of their body, offering a protective, lightweight armor suited to their environment. These scales likely served as both a shield from predators and a way to regulate water loss, particularly in arid climates. Over time, some dinosaur lineages began to exhibit more specialized skin features. The discovery of feathered dinosaurs, notably in the theropod group, transformed our understanding of dinosaur evolution. Fossils of Sinosauropteryx, a small theropod from the Jurassic, revealed primitive proto-feathers, filamentous structures similar to hair rather than the developed feathers we see in modern birds. These proto-feathers likely evolved initially for insulation, helping smaller, warm-blooded theropods regulate their body temperature in cooler climates. As feathers evolved further, they developed into more complex structures, enabling various functions like display and even, eventually, flight in some lineages. The diversity of skin coverings across species also points to a fascinating evolutionary adaptability. Larger theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex may not have had feathers all over their bodies, but could have had patches along their necks or backs, perhaps for display or thermoregulation in younger individuals. Meanwhile, some herbivores evolved dermal armor, like the bony osteoderms found in ankylosaurs, which formed natural body armor to protect against predators. These variations in skin covering reflect a timeline of environmental adaptations and functions, from protection to communication and even complex social signaling within species. Each type of skin evolved for survival, shaped by specific habitats and lifestyles, painting a picture of dinosaurs as highly diverse and adaptable creatures. How did feathers, scales, or skin textures help dinosaurs adapt to their environments and play a role in camouflage, signaling, or temperature control? Dinosaurs developed a remarkable range of skin textures and coverings that weren't just for show, but served essential survival functions. Feathers, for instance, became a versatile tool for certain theropods, particularly as they evolved to cover more surface area on the body. In smaller dinosaurs like Microraptor, feathered limbs provided not only a means of gliding from tree to tree, but also insulation, helping maintain body heat. For these species, feathers became a multi-purpose adaptation, supporting flight, camouflage, and warmth in temperate regions. Patterns and colors of feathers may also have provided visual camouflage, blending them into the dense, shadowy forest undergrowth to evade predators or sneak up on prey. In addition to feathers, scales, and skin textures also served their own critical purposes. In desert-like environments, scaly skin helped prevent water loss, a vital adaptation for herbivores like Hadrosaurus, which might travel far from water sources. Smooth, tough scales reduced surface exposure to the sun while creating a barrier against the dry conditions and providing a measure of defense against smaller predators. For dinosaurs living in humid, swampy areas, different skin textures may have evolved to repel water or prevent the buildup of harmful bacteria, ensuring that even in challenging climates, their skin served as a reliable line of defense. Color and texture further aided dinosaurs in signaling and social interactions. The elaborate frills, crests, and skin textures found in dinosaurs like Triceratops and Parasaurolophus likely served as display structures for mating rituals or hierarchical displays within social groups. Feathers, too, might have become brightly colored or patterned in specific species, signaling fitness or social rank. Velociraptor may have displayed iridescent feathers similar to modern birds of prey, using visual signals to establish territory or attract mates. These displays of color and texture gave certain species an advantage by allowing them to communicate effectively within their groups, reducing physical conflicts and fostering social cohesion. For dinosaurs living in cooler climates or during cold nights, feathers and certain skin textures offered insulation, playing a role in temperature control. Theropods with feathered bodies could retain warmth, allowing them to stay active in lower temperatures and hunt even when conditions weren't ideal for cold-blooded prey. This development was key to the survival of certain species, as it enabled a high level of activity and metabolic efficiency, allowing them to exploit resources and thrive in more varied environments. By tailoring skin textures, colors, and coverings to specific needs, dinosaurs created a diverse array of physical adaptations that not only shaped their appearance, but also played a crucial role in their survival strategies. What adaptations in bone structure and body design allowed dinosaurs like sauropods to grow so large without collapsing under their own weight? Dinosaurs like sauropods reached incredible sizes that dwarf most land animals today, and their bone structures were a marvel of natural engineering. Unlike mammals, whose bones are solid and heavy, sauropods developed a unique skeletal design with bones that were strong but remarkably light. Their vertebrae, for instance, were filled with air sacs, reducing their weight significantly without sacrificing strength. This structural feature, called pneumaticity, is also found in modern birds and allowed sauropods to grow to enormous sizes while reducing the energy needed to support their bodies. Their leg bones were another crucial adaptation. Thick and column-like, the bones in a sauropod's legs acted as strong, stable pillars capable of bearing tremendous weight. These bones were solid and dense, without the typical hollow spaces found in their vertebrae, creating a solid foundation that prevented their bodies from collapsing under their own mass. The size and orientation of these limbs distributed their weight effectively, allowing them to support their long necks and tails without compromising stability. Their hip and shoulder structures were equally adapted for load-bearing, with large muscle attachment points that helped distribute forces evenly, balancing their massive frames. The long necks of sauropods, a key characteristic, were supported by an intricate ligament system along the spine, reducing the muscle effort needed to hold up such an extended structure. These ligaments acted like tension cables, allowing the sauropods to move their necks gracefully without exhausting their energy reserves. This adaptation was essential for their feeding strategy, as it enabled them to reach food across a wide area without needing to move their entire bodies. Their tails likewise helped counterbalance their necks, creating a stable center of gravity and reducing strain on their limbs. Sauropods' digestive systems were also optimized for gigantism. With vast, elongated digestive tracts, they could process large amounts of plant material slowly, extracting every possible nutrient. This slow digestion supported their immense growth, fueling their bodies consistently over time. The anatomical adaptations that enabled their size were not simply about supporting weight, but creating a balanced system, where every part worked in harmony to allow sauropods to thrive as giants in their environments. How did gigantism benefit certain dinosaur species, and what evolutionary pressures might have driven some species to become so enormous? Gigantism offered certain dinosaur species distinct advantages, particularly in the face of environmental pressures and competition for resources. One significant benefit of being enormous was access to a virtually untapped food source: high foliage. Large herbivores like sauropods evolved to feed on vegetation that smaller animals couldn't reach, including the tops of trees and other tall plants. With their extensive necks, these giants could graze over vast areas without moving their bodies much, giving them an advantage in resource-scarce regions. This ability to consume large amounts of high-growing plants allowed sauropods to occupy a unique ecological niche, where competition with smaller herbivores was minimal. Gigantism also provided a defense mechanism against predators. For most large dinosaurs, reaching maturity meant fewer threats from carnivorous species. Predators like Allosaurus or Ceratosaurus might have hunted juvenile sauropods, but adults were often too large and formidable to be targeted. This size refuge created an evolutionary pressure that favored rapid growth rates and significant size advantages, as only the largest and most robust individuals survived to reproduce. The bigger they grew, the safer they became from predation, making gigantism a beneficial trait in regions populated by powerful predators. Environmental factors, such as the abundance of plant life, also influenced gigantism. During the Mesozoic, warm climates and high levels of carbon dioxide encouraged lush vegetation growth, which in turn supported herbivores with an ample supply of food. This abundance allowed sauropods to consume massive quantities of low-nutrient plants, enabling them to fuel their enormous bodies. In such nutrient-rich environments, large body size became advantageous, allowing herbivores to store energy more efficiently, withstand seasonal food shortages, and cover larger distances in search of fresh feeding grounds. Gigantism may have also played a role in thermoregulation. Large bodies lose heat more slowly than smaller ones, making gigantism advantageous in fluctuating temperatures. This trait allowed massive dinosaurs to maintain a relatively stable internal temperature, even as their environment shifted between warm and cool periods. This stability gave them a resilience that smaller animals lacked, enabling them to thrive in varied habitats. These evolutionary pressures, resource competition, predation, environmental conditions, and thermoregulation drove certain species to grow larger over generations. Gigantism became a successful survival strategy, allowing species like sauropods to dominate their habitats by exploiting food sources and reaching a size that few predators could challenge. What modern techniques do scientists use to determine the possible colors of dinosaurs, and what can these colors tell us about their lifestyles? Scientists have developed innovative techniques to uncover the possible colors of dinosaurs, transforming how we visualize these ancient creatures. One breakthrough method involves the study of microscopic pigment structures called melanosomes, which are preserved in some fossilized dinosaur feathers and skin. These tiny, cellular structures contain the same kinds of pigments that give color to modern bird feathers and mammal hair. By comparing fossilized melanosomes to those of modern animals, scientists can infer color patterns based on the size, shape, and arrangement of these pigments. For example, elongated melanosomes are often associated with black and gray shades, while rounder melanosomes might indicate colors like yellow or red. A famous application of this technique involved the small feathered dinosaur Sinosauropteryx. Researchers found evidence of color bands along its tail, which suggests that this dinosaur had a striped pattern, possibly as camouflage in its environment. This discovery hints at a lifestyle where blending into surroundings was essential, either to avoid predators or to ambush prey. Similarly, other fossilized remains of feathered dinosaurs like Anchiornis have revealed complex color patterns, including hues of red, black, and white. Such vivid coloring implies that beyond camouflage, Some dinosaurs used colors for display purposes, much like modern birds use plumage to attract mates or establish social dominance. Another fascinating technique used to determine color involves synchrotron radiation, where high-powered X-rays reveal chemical traces left by ancient pigments in fossils. This method has been applied to a variety of specimens, allowing scientists to map traces of elements like copper and sulfur, which are often associated with specific pigments. By creating a chemical map of these ancient pigments, researchers can reconstruct the possible coloration of dinosaurs with even greater accuracy. Understanding color in dinosaurs provides clues about their behavior, social structures, and habitats. Dinosaurs with vibrant colors or intricate patterns likely used them for signaling, either to communicate within species or warn predators. Duller-colored dinosaurs, on the other hand, might have used earth tones for camouflage in forested or rocky environments. Each color detail offers insight into the role of visual communication in prehistoric ecosystems, hinting at a rich and dynamic social world filled with displays, warnings, and environmental adaptations. How might colors and patterns have played a role in dinosaur mating displays, intimidation, or camouflage within their environments? Colors and patterns likely played essential roles in the daily lives of dinosaurs, serving functions that ranged from attracting mates to intimidating rivals and hiding from predators. Many dinosaurs, particularly those with feathers, would have used vibrant color patterns to stand out during mating displays. Like modern birds, these dinosaurs may have evolved bright plumage or striking patterns to signal their health and genetic fitness, traits that potential mates would find attractive. Theropods like Velociraptor may have displayed iridescent feathers, shimmering in the sunlight as they used body language and coloration to catch the eye of potential partners. Bright colors could have served as visual cues, simplifying the mate selection process in species that formed pairs or even small family groups. In addition to mating displays, colors and patterns would have served critical purposes in intimidation and establishing territory. Larger herbivores with frills or crests, such as Triceratops, might have had bold markings on their frills to deter rivals or signal dominance to other members of their group. When encountering a rival, bold colors could have enhanced their size and strength, giving a clear signal that they were ready to defend their position. Patterns or colors specific to a herd or group could also have helped certain species recognize each other, maintaining social bonds and deterring outsiders. Camouflage was equally essential for survival, especially for dinosaurs living in dense forests or open plains. Dinosaurs with earthy colors or disruptive patterns, such as stripes or spots, would have blended seamlessly into their surroundings, helping them evade predators. Sinosauropteryx, with its banded tail, is an example of how coloration might have functioned as natural camouflage, breaking up its outline in forested environments and making it harder for predators to spot. For ambush predators like Carnotaurus, darker tones could have allowed them to hide in shadows, waiting for unsuspecting prey to pass close by before launching a surprise attack. Some dinosaurs likely combined multiple functions within their color patterns, utilizing camouflage in one environment and bold displays in social or mating contexts. For smaller dinosaurs in particular, vibrant patterns could switch roles quickly, aiding in concealment from predators while still being effective during brief displays. These varied uses of coloration and patterning reveal the complex social and ecological lives dinosaurs led, where survival depended as much on what they could communicate visually as it did on physical strength or speed. Each hue and stripe added layers to their behavior, making color an invaluable adaptation in the prehistoric world. How did the teeth of carnivorous dinosaurs differ from those of herbivores? And what does this reveal about their diets and hunting or foraging techniques? The teeth of dinosaurs were as varied and specialized as the dinosaurs themselves, with each adaptation reflecting a unique diet and feeding strategy. Carnivorous dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex had teeth that were robust and serrated, designed to tear through flesh and crush bone. These teeth were curved backward, helping the predator grip onto struggling prey and prevent escape. With a bite force that could shatter bone, T-Rex used its massive, conical teeth to rip apart large chunks of meat, making it one of the most formidable predators of its time. This type of tooth structure, with its jagged edges, was optimal for slicing through thick muscle and hide, enabling it to consume large prey quickly and efficiently. In contrast, smaller carnivores like Velociraptor had sharp, blade-like teeth suited for precision rather than brute force. These slender teeth, combined with a smaller jaw structure, were likely used to target specific softer areas on prey, allowing Velociraptor to incapacitate smaller animals or consume prey quickly. The teeth of these agile hunters reveal a specialized approach to predation, where speed and precision were just as important as power. Their dental structures suggest a hunting style focused on quick, lethal bites rather than sustained attacks, highlighting the diversity of carnivorous adaptations within dinosaur species. Herbivorous dinosaurs, on the other hand, had a completely different dental setup, suited for processing plant material. Dinosaurs like Triceratops possessed rows of broad, flat teeth designed to grind and shred fibrous plants. Unlike carnivores whose teeth were spaced to grip and tear, Triceratops had densely packed teeth, forming what is known as a dental battery. This arrangement allowed it to break down tough vegetation into digestible portions, making it highly effective at foraging in environments where plant matter was abundant. The continuous replacement of teeth in herbivores ensured they always had a functional set necessary for consuming large amounts of tough vegetation without wearing down. The specialized teeth of both carnivores and herbivores illustrate how different dietary needs shaped their feeding habits. Where carnivores focused on capturing and consuming prey, herbivores adapted to process plants efficiently, each developing dental structures that fit their respective niches in the prehistoric food web. These dental adaptations offer a fascinating glimpse into the daily lives of dinosaurs, where the very structure of their teeth dictated how they hunted, foraged, and ultimately survived. How did certain dinosaurs evolve to eat specific plants or prey, and what impact did this specialization have on their interactions with other species? Specialization in diet allowed many dinosaur species to occupy unique ecological niches, minimizing competition and shaping the prehistoric food web. Herbivores, like the hadrosaurs, evolved flat, grinding teeth ideal for chewing tough, fibrous plants that other herbivores might have ignored. These duck-billed dinosaurs had highly effective dental batteries capable of grinding down plants into fine material, which could be easily digested. This specialization enabled them to exploit vegetation that was difficult for other herbivores to process, such as ferns and conifer needles, giving them access to food sources that required little competition with other plant eaters. By feeding on plants that were not commonly targeted, hadrosaurs could coexist alongside other herbivores without depleting shared resources. Carnivores also displayed dietary specialization, allowing various predatory dinosaurs to thrive within the same ecosystem. Allosaurus, for example, developed adaptations that suited it to hunting medium to large herbivores like stegosaurs. With relatively long arms and claws for gripping prey, Allosaurus likely used ambush techniques, taking advantage of its flexibility and strong neck muscles to latch onto prey in a sudden strike. In contrast, Tyrannosaurus rex evolved to tackle even larger herbivores, its bone-crushing bite allowing it to consume nearly every part of its kill, including bones. This ability to process bone opened up a unique ecological niche, enabling T-Rex to access nutrients that other predators couldn't, reducing competition and ensuring that even carcasses left behind by other hunters were valuable food sources. Plant-eating dinosaurs like Brachiosaurus also adapted to specific feeding zones, using their long necks to browse on treetops, while smaller herbivores fed closer to the ground. This vertical stratification reduced competition for food, allowing multiple species to share the same habitat without direct conflict over resources. These adaptations in feeding height and dietary choice fostered a rich diversity of herbivores within ecosystems, each species evolving to exploit a particular aspect of the available vegetation. Dietary specialization not only affected individual survival, but also shaped the interactions between species. By reducing direct competition for resources, dietary niches allowed multiple species to thrive alongside each other, creating a complex web of interdependent relationships. Each dinosaur's unique adaptations to specific plants or prey contributed to a balanced ecosystem, where specialization in diet facilitated coexistence, supported biodiversity, and reinforced the stability of prehistoric ecosystems. What evidence suggests that some dinosaurs may have been warm-blooded, and how would this have influenced their activity levels and behaviors? The question of whether dinosaurs were warm-blooded, like mammals and birds, or cold-blooded, like reptiles, has intrigued scientists for decades. Several lines of evidence now suggest that some dinosaurs might have been warm-blooded, exhibiting high metabolic rates that allowed for sustained activity and rapid growth. One of the strongest indicators of warm-bloodedness in dinosaurs is found in their bone structure. Fossils of certain species, especially theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex and Velociraptor, reveal bones filled with small cavities and blood vessel channels, a feature known as vascularization. This structure resembles that of modern warm-blooded animals, whose bones develop rapidly and require a constant blood supply to support active metabolism and quick growth. The high density of blood vessels in these bones suggests that dinosaurs were capable of faster growth rates than cold-blooded animals, pointing toward a warm-blooded physiology. Another intriguing clue lies in the discovery of preserved dinosaur fossils with feathers, particularly in theropods closely related to modern birds. Feathers, initially believed to be used solely for flight, also function as insulation, which helps warm-blooded animals maintain stable internal temperatures. This feature would have allowed dinosaurs to regulate their body heat, enabling them to remain active in a range of temperatures. Feathers on small, agile dinosaurs like Microraptor suggest that these creatures maintained a higher metabolic rate, which would have made them swift, adaptable hunters. Additional support for warm-bloodedness comes from isotopic studies on dinosaur fossils, where variations in oxygen isotopes across bones can reveal temperature regulation. Findings from isotopic studies of sauropods and theropods indicate stable internal temperatures, a characteristic of warm-blooded animals. If dinosaurs could regulate their internal temperature, they would have been able to sustain higher activity levels, making them more effective hunters or foragers. This elevated energy output would have granted warm-blooded dinosaurs a competitive advantage, especially in cooler climates where cold-blooded rivals might have become sluggish. The idea of warm-blooded dinosaurs aligns with their behaviors as depicted by fossil trackways and nesting sites, which suggest high levels of movement and parental care. Warm-blooded physiology would have enabled these animals to travel long distances in search of food, guard nests, and nurture young with greater dedication. The potential for higher metabolic rates allowed dinosaurs to dominate ecosystems by remaining active and resilient across diverse environments and conditions. How do scientists determine metabolic rates in extinct animals? And what can this tell us about how dinosaurs maintained body heat in various climates? Understanding the metabolic rates of dinosaurs involves innovative approaches that compare fossils with living animals to draw inferences about ancient physiology. One of the primary methods for estimating dinosaur metabolism is through the examination of growth rings in fossilized bones, similar to tree rings. These rings can reveal the rate at which a dinosaur grew, and rapid growth is generally associated with high metabolism. Warm-blooded animals tend to grow quickly as their bodies can sustain the high energy demands of cellular processes. When scientists find bones with dense growth rings, it suggests that dinosaurs had fast growth rates, similar to those seen in warm-blooded species today. Another technique relies on isotopic analysis. By studying the oxygen isotopes in dinosaur bones, scientists can assess body temperature patterns. Since the ratio of oxygen isotopes varies with temperature, analyzing these ratios in bones can provide insights into how well dinosaurs regulated their internal heat. Dinosaurs with stable isotope ratios across different bone regions likely maintained a constant internal temperature, a trait commonly associated with warm-blooded animals. This consistency in body temperature would have allowed them to survive in a variety of climates, from the arid plains to cooler, forested regions, adapting to fluctuations in their environments without needing to rely on external heat sources. Fossilized evidence of insulation, such as feathers or hair-like structures, also provides clues to metabolic rates. Insulation is generally more common in animals with a warm-blooded physiology, as it helps retain internally generated heat. Feathered theropods and smaller dinosaurs with filamentous coverings indicate they could have been warm-blooded, using these structures to stay active in colder environments. Maintaining body heat would have been especially advantageous for survival in regions with significant temperature drops, allowing dinosaurs to remain active even when other animals slowed down or became dormant. Furthermore, body size itself can reveal aspects of thermal regulation. Large dinosaurs like sauropods likely maintained body heat through what scientists call gigantothermy, a form of temperature control seen in large animals today where body mass helps retain heat. The sheer size of these dinosaurs would have allowed them to hold onto warmth over extended periods, ensuring stable body temperatures even in cooler conditions. Smaller feathered dinosaurs would have relied on faster metabolic rates to generate and conserve heat internally. Each of these scientific techniques, from isotopic analysis to the study of bone growth and insulation, contributes to a clearer picture of how dinosaurs maintained body heat. Together, these findings reveal a diverse range of metabolic adaptations that help dinosaurs thrive across climates, showcasing their ability to manage energy and body temperature in ways similar to modern birds and mammals. How did the feeding habits of large herbivores like hadrosaurs and sauropods shape the plant communities and landscapes around them? The impact of large herbivorous dinosaurs like hadrosaurs and sauropods on their environments was immense. These massive plant eaters were constantly feeding to sustain their energy needs, and their relentless consumption transformed the landscapes they roamed. Sauropods, with their long necks and towering heights, reached vegetation that other herbivores couldn't, stripping leaves from treetops and even toppling smaller trees in their path. As they cleared high vegetation, sauropods opened up spaces in the canopy, allowing sunlight to reach lower plants. This created a dynamic mosaic of plant life across different levels, fostering diversity in the ecosystem by enabling different types of plants to flourish in the newly lit undergrowth. Hadrosaurs, known as duck-billed dinosaurs, browsed closer to the ground, focusing on shrubs, ferns, and other mid-level vegetation. With their specialized dental batteries, they could process tough, fibrous plants that might have been off-limits to other herbivores. By selectively grazing on certain plants, hadrosaurs influenced the composition of plant communities, encouraging growth in some species while limiting others. Over time, this selective feeding resulted in a balanced but constantly evolving ecosystem, as plant species adapted to frequent browsing by growing tougher leaves or spreading seeds more quickly to maintain their populations. The sheer size of these herbivores also meant that they trampled vast areas, breaking up soil and dispersing seeds as they moved. Their massive feet disrupted the ground, allowing seeds to become buried in freshly churned soil where they had a better chance of germinating. This process resembled the natural tilling effects that large mammals like elephants perform today. By shaping the soil and distributing seeds, these dinosaurs facilitated plant growth across the landscape, unintentionally creating pockets of new vegetation that would attract other herbivores and even some predators. As they moved across large distances, sauropods and hadrosaurs left a trail of changed vegetation behind them, engineering their environment on a grand scale. These feeding habits not only affected plant life but also created habitats for smaller animals, from insects that thrived on decomposing plants to small reptiles and mammals that relied on the altered landscape for shelter and food. The impact of these herbivores rippled through the entire ecosystem, demonstrating how their feeding behaviors sculpted a complex and interconnected prehistoric world. What role did dinosaurs play in creating habitats for smaller animals, and how did their actions impact the biodiversity of their ecosystems? The activities of dinosaurs, particularly the largest herbivores, had a profound impact on the habitats available for smaller animals. By consuming vast amounts of vegetation, breaking up soil, and dispersing seeds, dinosaurs unintentionally created habitats that were ideal for various forms of life. As sauropods and hadrosaurs moved through forests and plains, they not only altered plant life but also created microhabitats, areas with distinct environmental conditions suited to smaller organisms. For example, the open, sunlit patches left in the wake of their feeding encouraged the growth of diverse plant species, providing new food sources and hiding spots for smaller animals. Large herbivores also help create water access points by trampling trails to rivers, lakes, and watering holes. These trails served as corridors for a variety of creatures, including small reptiles, amphibians, and even early mammals, allowing them to reach essential resources more easily. The trails carved by dinosaurs not only enabled access, but also promoted movement and gene flow among populations, helping to sustain biodiversity across regions. In arid areas, depressions left by their footprints could capture rainwater, creating temporary pools that supported insects, fish, and other small organisms, further enhancing the complexity of the ecosystem. The abundance of fallen trees and disturbed plant material left by foraging dinosaurs provided shelter and food sources for scavenging animals and decomposers. These sites became hotspots of activity, drawing insects, small reptiles, and early birds that relied on decaying vegetation for sustenance. Fossil evidence shows that smaller animals often clustered near areas where large herbivores had passed through, taking advantage of the food sources left behind. This relationship highlights how the actions of large dinosaurs indirectly supported the survival of other species, creating a web of interdependent relationships within their habitats. The waste produced by dinosaurs was also a crucial element in this ecosystem. Massive quantities of dung from herbivores like sauropods enriched the soil, acting as a natural fertilizer. This nutrient boost supported plant growth, which in turn attracted herbivorous insects, further fueling the food chain. The combination of grazing, soil disturbance, and nutrient deposition created a fertile environment that promoted high levels of biodiversity. Small mammals, reptiles, and insects thrived in these conditions, with each species finding its own niche within the larger landscape. These giant herbivores, by simply going about their daily lives, shaped the ecosystems around them in profound ways. Their movements, feeding patterns, and waste cycles established and maintained a balanced and vibrant ecosystem, underscoring the dinosaurs' role as ecosystem engineers whose influence was felt by creatures both large and small. What evidence suggests that some dinosaurs may have used vocalizations to communicate, and what sounds might they have produced? Fossil evidence hints that some dinosaurs likely communicated through vocalizations, using sounds to interact within groups, warn of predators, or establish territories. Fossils of hadrosaurids, often called duck-billed dinosaurs, reveal large hollow crests on their heads, which scientists believe functioned as resonating chambers. These hollow crests, connected to their nasal passages, may have allowed hadrosaurs to produce deep, resonant calls. By pushing air through the crest, a hadrosaur could have created sounds that carried over long distances, possibly helping herd members stay connected or warning of approaching threats. This structure suggests that their vocalizations were likely low-frequency sounds that could travel far, ideal for communication in dense forests or open plains. Modern birds and reptiles, the closest living relatives of dinosaurs, also offer clues to potential dinosaur sounds. Crocodiles, for instance, use infrasonic bellows to communicate over large distances and signal dominance, while birds use songs and calls for a variety of social functions. Dinosaurs, particularly theropods, may have produced a range of sounds using similar techniques. Fossilized syrinxes, or voice boxes, discovered in some avian dinosaurs provide a glimpse into how they might have produced sound. Although only a few syrinx fossils have been found, the presence of this vocal organ in close relatives of dinosaurs implies that non-avian dinosaurs may also have possessed similar structures, enabling them to produce distinct calls or even complex vocal patterns. These sounds likely played a key role in social dynamics. For herd-dwelling dinosaurs, vocalizations would have allowed them to maintain cohesion especially during migration. Young dinosaurs could have called to their mothers for protection, while adults used specific sounds to signal alarm or assert dominance within groups. In carnivorous dinosaurs, vocalizations might have functioned to warn rivals or coordinate group hunting efforts. Evidence from fossilized trackways suggests that certain predatory species, such as smaller theropods, may have hunted in packs, where vocal signals would have been useful to synchronize attacks or communicate position. Overall, the anatomy of hadrosaur crests and the presence of syrinx structures in avian dinosaurs suggests that sound played a crucial role in the lives of many dinosaur species. From deep bellows to high-pitched calls, these vocalizations likely enriched dinosaur social interactions, turning their habitats into lively soundscapes of calls, alerts, and signals. How did physical features like crests, frills, and colors contribute to communication within species? And what purposes did these displays serve? Dinosaurs used a remarkable array of physical features to communicate with each other, including crests, frills, horns, and even color patterns. These features acted as visual signals, allowing dinosaurs to communicate without making a sound, a crucial adaptation for social interactions and establishing hierarchies within groups. Crests and frills, such as those seen in species like Pachycephalosaurus and Triceratops, were likely used in displays that conveyed information about an individual's size, strength, or social rank. Pachycephalosaurus, with its thick, domed skull, may have used head-butting displays or contests to establish dominance, while the frilled and horned Triceratops could have displayed its large frill to assert territory or attract mates. Color patterns likely enhance these displays, especially in species that had feathers or specialized skin textures. Fossil evidence of pigment cells or melanosomes in some feathered dinosaurs suggests that their plumage featured vibrant colors and patterns, which could have played a role in courtship and mate selection. Dinosaurs like Velociraptor might have exhibited iridescent feathers, much like modern birds do, using these shimmering colors to catch the attention of potential mates. For these species, the display of color would have signaled health and genetic fitness, helping females choose the strongest or most attractive mates to ensure the survival of their offspring. Frills and crests also had defensive and intimidation functions, acting as visual warnings to deter potential predators or rivals. A species like Protoceratops, with its broad frill, could use this feature to make itself appear larger and more imposing, dissuading threats without needing to engage in physical combat. Similarly, large predators like Carnotaurus might have used horn-like structures above their eyes to enhance their appearance and signal dominance. These displays helped establish territory boundaries, reducing direct conflict and conserving energy for other survival activities. Beyond individual survival, these visual signals strengthened social bonds within groups. In herds or packs, members could recognize each other by distinctive crests or color patterns, fostering group cohesion and communication. Specific displays within groups, such as a raised frill or spread feathers, could signal readiness to mate or warn others of danger, creating a rich visual language unique to each species. These features transformed dinosaur habitats into a vibrant world of colors, patterns, and displays, where every shape and hue had meaning in the complex social lives of these prehistoric giants. What fossil evidence reveals that dinosaurs suffered from infections, parasites, and diseases, and how did these affect their lives? Fossil evidence shows that dinosaurs faced various health challenges, including infections, parasites, and other diseases that impacted their lives and behaviors. Paleontologists have discovered signs of infections in the fossilized bones of several dinosaur species. For example, researchers found signs of osteomyelitis, a bacterial infection in the bone, in the leg of a Tyrannosaurus rex. This infection likely caused intense pain and hindered the dinosaur's mobility, potentially impacting its ability to hunt and survive. In another case, evidence of gout, a condition resulting from the buildup of uric acid crystals, was identified in the fossils of hadrosaurs. Such ailments reveal the vulnerability of dinosaurs to similar diseases that affect modern animals today. Parasitic infections were also common among dinosaurs, with fossilized evidence revealing infestations from various parasites. For example, scientists have found dinosaur feathers with preserved lice-like insects attached, suggesting that even feathered dinosaurs dealt with the discomfort of ectoparasites. These pests could have irritated the skin, causing dinosaurs to scratch or groom themselves more frequently, much like modern birds do. Beyond skin parasites, internal parasites likely affected dinosaurs as well. Evidence of these parasites is harder to find, but the impact would have been significant, draining their hosts of nutrients and weakening them over time. The spread of parasites within dinosaur herds could have created additional challenges, especially for young or injured individuals. Another fascinating discovery involves the traces of bone tumors in hadrosaurs, or duck-billed dinosaurs. These tumors, which are similar to those found in modern animals, suggest that some dinosaurs were prone to genetic diseases, possibly due to inbreeding or environmental factors. Such conditions would have impacted their physical strength and, in some cases, reduced their ability to fend off predators or compete for resources. By studying these fossilized signs of diseases and infections, scientists gain insight into the harsh realities dinosaurs faced. These ailments reveal that, just like today's animals, dinosaurs dealt with a range of health issues that affected their survival, behavior, and even social interactions. How might widespread diseases have influenced the population dynamics of certain dinosaur species or contributed to local extinctions? Widespread diseases could have profoundly impacted dinosaur populations, influencing not only individual survival, but also population dynamics and local biodiversity. In regions where dinosaurs gathered in large herds or communal nesting sites, diseases would have spread quickly. Fossil evidence from mass death sites, where large numbers of dinosaurs perished in close proximity, suggests that some of these events may have been caused by outbreaks of contagious diseases. For instance, diseases that affect respiratory systems could have decimated herds of herbivores, as weakened individuals would struggle to keep up, making them more susceptible to predation and environmental challenges. Pathogens would have particularly affected young, old, and injured dinosaurs, who were often the most vulnerable members of a population. Infected dinosaurs might have exhibited unusual behavior, isolating themselves from the herd or experiencing weakened immune responses. Herding behavior, typically a defense mechanism, could have backfired in the context of a disease outbreak, allowing pathogens to travel rapidly from one individual to the next. This dynamic mirrors what we see today in some mammal populations, where diseases can alter herd size, composition, and even behavior as animals attempt to avoid infection. Widespread diseases would also impact the food chain, particularly for predator-prey relationships. When herbivorous populations declined due to disease, carnivores faced food shortages, potentially leading them to migrate to other areas or face starvation. This scarcity of food would have influenced territorial behaviors among predators, increasing competition and even forcing some species to adapt their hunting strategies to cope with fewer available prey. Disease outbreaks could also leave scavengers with abundant carcasses, creating temporary booms in their populations, but potentially leading to long-term declines if prey populations didn't recover. In extreme cases, diseases could contribute to local extinctions. A species already struggling due to environmental changes or resource scarcity would be especially vulnerable to a sudden, widespread illness. This might explain why some smaller or isolated populations of dinosaurs disappeared from certain regions, as disease could have tipped the balance against survival. Paleontologists studying dinosaur fossils at mass mortality sites continue to find clues suggesting that disease outbreaks were significant factors in shaping the prehistoric world, contributing to evolutionary pressures and even influencing which species managed to thrive and which were driven to extinction. What can fossilized eggs and nests tell us about the reproductive strategies of dinosaurs, and how did these strategies differ across species? Fossilized dinosaur eggs and nests offer fascinating insights into the reproductive lives of these prehistoric animals, revealing diverse strategies adapted to different environments and lifestyles. For instance, some dinosaurs, like the hadrosaurs, arrange their eggs in large clusters within communal nesting grounds, suggesting a highly social approach to reproduction. fossilized nests of hadrosaurs have been found closely spaced in what appears to have been a nesting colony, where numerous mothers likely laid eggs in proximity to one another. This communal strategy may have provided safety in numbers, allowing parents to collectively guard their young from predators, much like modern birds nesting in colonies. By protecting each other's nests through shared vigilance, these dinosaurs could increase the chances of offspring survival. Theropods, like Oviraptor, took a different approach, showing signs of active parental care. Fossils of Oviraptor have been discovered with adults positioned protectively over their eggs, suggesting they may have incubated their clutches, providing warmth and safeguarding them from predators or environmental threats. This brooding behavior shows a level of parental involvement not commonly associated with reptiles and is more akin to the practices of birds. These nests, often carefully arranged in circular patterns, imply that Oviraptor parents took significant care in arranging and guarding their eggs, ensuring optimal conditions for hatching. In contrast, sauropods, known for their enormous size, adopted a different nesting strategy, likely driven by their environment and physical limitations. Fossilized nesting sites of sauropods suggest that these giants laid their eggs in shallow pits, covering them with vegetation to keep them warm. Given their enormous body size, it's unlikely that sauropods could have brooded their eggs directly. Instead, they appear to have relied on the sun and decaying plant material to incubate their eggs in open, unguarded sites, a strategy more akin to some modern reptiles like sea turtles. By laying large numbers of eggs and dispersing them widely, sauropods increased the odds that at least some offspring would survive despite the lack of direct parental care. Each reproductive strategy highlights the adaptability of dinosaurs in their quest to ensure species survival. From highly social nesting colonies to solitary brooding behaviors, these varied reproductive practices reflect the diversity in dinosaur biology and the evolutionary strategies each species used to protect the next generation in a world filled with challenges. How did nesting behaviors and parental care contribute to the survival of young dinosaurs? And what does this reveal about their social complexity? Nesting behaviors and parental care played essential roles in the survival of young dinosaurs, revealing a social complexity that challenges traditional views of dinosaurs as purely instinct-driven creatures. Fossilized nests found at various sites indicate that many dinosaurs returned to the same nesting grounds year after year, a behavior known as site fidelity. This habit of nesting in the same location created familiar, established grounds where young dinosaurs could grow under the protection of their parents and, in some cases, the collective security of a colony. For species like hadrosaurs, which nested in large colonies, this strategy allowed multiple generations to coexist, with older members possibly passing on knowledge of safe nesting areas and effective defense behaviors. The presence of multiple generations in one area suggests that certain dinosaur species had some form of social structure that extended beyond simple parental care. In these nesting colonies, young dinosaurs might have benefited from the protection provided by adults other than their parents, which created a community-like environment. Fossilized trackways showing smaller footprints within larger ones indicate that hatchlings stayed close to adults, relying on them for guidance and protection in the early stages of life. This communal care would have increased the survival rate of young dinosaurs who faced a world filled with predators and environmental hazards. In smaller, more solitary species like Oviraptor, fossils reveal a different type of parental care. By staying close to the nest and protecting their eggs, these dinosaurs likely defended their young from potential threats, ensuring that a higher proportion of eggs reached hatching. Fossils of adults positioned over nests indicate a level of dedication, suggesting that some dinosaurs invested significant energy in safeguarding their offspring. This type of intensive, individual parental care aligns with behaviors seen in modern birds, where adults remain with their young for extended periods, guiding and feeding them until they are self-sufficient. These nesting behaviors reveal that dinosaurs weren't merely leaving survival to chance. They invested in the next generation through strategic nesting choices and, in some cases, active care and protection. By fostering their young, dinosaurs like hadrosaurs and oviraptor exhibited behaviors that promoted social bonds and group cohesion. The evidence of these practices paints a picture of dinosaurs as creatures with rich social lives and family structures, where the survival of offspring was supported by behaviors that encouraged close-knit groups and strong family connections. How did the appearance of flowering plants in the Cretaceous impact the diets of herbivorous dinosaurs and shift their feeding behaviors? The appearance of flowering plants or angiosperms during the Cretaceous period marked a transformative shift in the diets of herbivorous dinosaurs, bringing a new array of nutritious and accessible food sources to the ancient landscape. Before flowering plants took hold, dinosaurs primarily fed on gymnosperms, like cycads, ferns, and conifers, plants that had dominated for millions of years, but were tough and nutrient-poor compared to angiosperms. The arrival of flowering plants introduced softer, more digestible leaves and fruits, which provided herbivores with higher nutrient concentrations in every bite. For herbivores, this development opened up new feeding opportunities and led to a gradual shift in dietary preferences. Hadrosaurs, or duck-billed dinosaurs, are a prime example of how herbivores adapted to this new food source. With their complex dental batteries, rows of tightly packed, grinding teeth, hadrosaurs could easily process angiosperm plants which were less fibrous than the cycads and conifers they once relied on. This dental adaptation allowed them to capitalize on flowering plants as they spread across the landscape, evolving to become one of the most successful herbivorous groups of the Cretaceous. By consuming these more easily digestible plants, hadrosaurs likely obtained more energy with less foraging time, which would have supported population growth and allowed them to spread into new habitats. Smaller herbivores, such as some ceratopsians and early ornithopods, also benefited from the abundance of flowering plants. The fruits and seeds of angiosperms were an attractive food source that required less physical effort to eat than tougher conifer needles or ferns. This increased accessibility may have influenced the evolution of smaller herbivores, allowing them to thrive alongside larger species by exploiting these new resources. Flowering plants didn't just change the types of food available, they also transformed dinosaur behavior. With angiosperms growing rapidly and producing seeds and fruits seasonally, herbivores may have developed seasonal feeding patterns, following blooms and migrations of flowering plants to maximize food availability. This shift could have affected migration routes, herding behaviors, and even social structures, as herds would congregate in areas where flowering plants were abundant. The spread of angiosperms fundamentally reshaped the diets and lifestyles of herbivorous dinosaurs, allowing them to diversify and adapt in ways that had a lasting impact on the prehistoric world. What ecological changes did the spread of flowering plants bring to dinosaur habitats? And how did these plants interact with other flora and fauna? The spread of flowering plants during the Cretaceous period had a profound effect on dinosaur habitats, altering the structure and biodiversity of ecosystems. As angiosperms rapidly diversified, they filled ecological niches that had once been dominated by gymnosperms like cycads, ferns, and conifers. Unlike their predecessors, flowering plants evolved to grow quickly and produce a variety of specialized structures, such as fruits and flowers, which not only provided new food sources for herbivorous dinosaurs, but also transformed the landscape itself. These changes encouraged a burst of biodiversity, attracting pollinators and shaping interactions among animals, plants, and the environment in complex new ways. The rapid growth cycle of flowering plants contributed to a more varied and dynamic plant community. Angiosperms adapted to different habitats, from open plains to shaded forests, creating a patchwork of vegetation across the landscape. This diversity provided more ecological niches for smaller plant-eating dinosaurs, as well as for insects, which became crucial in pollinating flowering plants. With a vast array of angiosperm species blooming at different times, herbivores gained consistent food availability, supporting larger and more stable populations. The increased availability of soft, nutritious vegetation allowed certain herbivorous dinosaurs, such as hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, to spread into new regions, transforming ecosystems that had previously supported fewer herbivorous species. The relationship between flowering plants and their pollinators marked a significant ecological change. Fossils of early bees, beetles, and other pollinating insects show that these creatures flourished alongside angiosperms, becoming essential players in plant reproduction. This mutually beneficial relationship created a ripple effect in the ecosystem, as the success of flowering plants provided food sources for insects, which in turn supported populations of insectivorous dinosaurs and early mammals. As pollinators spread angiosperms across various regions, they encouraged greater diversity in both flora and fauna, strengthening the entire ecosystem's resilience. The spread of angiosperms also challenged the dominance of gymnosperms, leading to a shift in forest composition. While conifers and cycads continued to exist, they now had to compete with rapidly reproducing flowering plants. Angiosperms often outpaced gymnosperms in growth, leading to landscapes dominated by flowering species. This shift likely influenced the behavior and diet of herbivorous dinosaurs, which adapted to the presence of both plant groups, adding further complexity to the food web. The introduction of flowering plants redefined dinosaur habitats, fostering biodiversity and creating an interconnected web of plant, insect, and animal interactions. These ecological changes set the stage for increasingly diverse ecosystems, where angiosperms played a vital role in supporting not only herbivorous dinosaurs, but the entire array of life in the Cretaceous period, 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 the Cretaceous period of the dinosaur extinction. And how did this event unfold? Scientists have gathered compelling evidence pointing to a colossal asteroid impact as the primary catalyst for the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. One of the most significant discoveries supporting this theory is the worldwide layer of iridium-rich clay in the geologic record, dating precisely to around 66 million years ago, the same time dinosaurs vanished. Iridium is rare on Earth's surface but abundant in asteroids, and this unusual concentration suggests that a massive asteroid impact distributed iridium across the globe. The impact site itself, known as the Chicxulub crater, lies buried beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. This crater, measuring over 180 kilometers, 112 miles in diameter, is a testament to the power of the event. Analysis of the crater's size and structure indicates that the asteroid was roughly 10 kilometers, 6 miles, wide, carrying energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. When it struck, the impact unleashed unimaginable forces, vaporizing rock, sending shockwaves across the planet, and igniting massive wildfires. The resulting explosion blasted particles and debris high into the atmosphere, where they quickly circled the globe. The aftermath was swift and catastrophic. Thick clouds of dust, ash, and sulfur filled the atmosphere, blocking sunlight for months or even years. This impact winter drastically lowered global temperatures, disrupting photosynthesis and plunging the planet into darkness. Plants began to wither without sunlight, leading to a rapid collapse of food chains. Herbivorous dinosaurs, deprived of vegetation, perished, which in turn starved the carnivorous dinosaurs that depended on them. Marine ecosystems suffered too, as plankton and other photosynthetic organisms dwindled, sending shockwaves through the food web. The impact reshaped the planet almost instantaneously, setting off a chain reaction that reshuffled life on Earth in ways no other event in history had before. How did the asteroid's impact create a nuclear winter, and what were the immediate effects on Earth's climate and ecosystems? The asteroid impact triggered an environmental catastrophe that scientists often liken to a nuclear winter, an apocalyptic scenario where atmospheric particles block sunlight, leading to a significant drop in temperature worldwide. The sheer force of the asteroid's collision vaporized rock and soil at the impact site, sending billions of tons of debris into the sky. This debris included fine particles of dust, soot from wildfires, and sulfur compounds from vaporized minerals, which formed thick, sun-blocking clouds high in the atmosphere. As sunlight was blocked from reaching Earth's surface, global temperatures plummeted, creating an abrupt cooling effect that scientists estimate may have lasted for years. This dramatic drop in temperature put intense stress on ecosystems. Plants, which rely on sunlight for photosynthesis, began to die off en masse, particularly those without seeds or other dormant stages that could wait out the darkness. As plant life dwindled, herbivores faced starvation, and as these plant eaters died off, the carnivores that hunted them lost their food source as well. Even the once thriving marine ecosystems were affected. Phytoplankton, the base of the oceanic food chain, relied on sunlight, and with photosynthesis hindered, these microscopic organisms declined sharply, causing a ripple effect that impacted marine animals all the way up the food chain. Besides plunging the planet into darkness and cooling, the asteroid impact likely generated acidic rain. The sulfuric particles from the impact would have mixed with atmospheric moisture, creating sulfuric acid that fell as rain, further harming plant life and freshwater ecosystems. Acid rain would have degraded soils, killed off plant life, and contaminated bodies of water, compounding the already devastating environmental stresses. As ecosystems collapsed under these conditions, only the most adaptable and resilient species survived. Small mammals, birds, and certain reptiles were better suited to handle the scarcity of resources, able to find shelter, hibernate, or survive on more varied diets. These survivors would inherit a changed world, one where the giants that had dominated Earth for millions of years were suddenly gone. The asteroid impact and resulting nuclear winter redefined the planet, clearing the stage for new life forms to evolve and thrive in the wake of this unparalleled catastrophe. Massive volcanic eruptions during the late Cretaceous period, such as those in the Deccan Traps of what is now India, were a powerful force altering Earth's atmosphere and ecosystems well before the asteroid impact. These eruptions spewed vast quantities of lava across the land, creating layers of basaltic rock that covered thousands of square kilometers. But it was not just the lava that changed the planet. These eruptions also released immense amounts of gases, including carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, which had lasting effects on the global climate. Carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, contributed to gradual warming, while sulfur dioxide particles created temporary cooling by reflecting sunlight away from Earth. The result was an unstable climate, alternating between warming and cooling phases, which challenged many species' ability to adapt. As volcanic gases accumulated in the atmosphere, ecosystems faced increased stress. Oceans absorbed much of the excess carbon dioxide, leading to ocean acidification. This shift in ocean chemistry was disastrous for marine life, particularly for organisms with calcium carbonate shells or skeletons, such as ammonites and reef-building creatures. Acidified waters weakened these shells and disrupted marine food chains, placing pressure on both prey and predator populations. On land, warmer temperatures and altered precipitation patterns transformed vegetation, creating challenges for herbivorous dinosaurs who depended on stable food sources. Forests and plant life struggled in areas affected by acid rain from volcanic sulfur compounds, further straining ecosystems already on edge. The intense release of sulfur dioxide from the Deccan Traps likely led to episodes of acid rain that damaged both land and aquatic environments. Vegetation in affected areas withered, leaving herbivores without sufficient food and reducing shelter options. As plant life declined, the food web began to destabilize, making it difficult for large herbivores to survive. This weakening of herbivore populations trickled up to carnivorous dinosaurs, who found it harder to sustain themselves without consistent prey. Meanwhile, temperature fluctuations due to volcanic activity forced animals to seek new habitats, which may have increased competition for resources and space. These climate shifts from volcanic activity weakened ecosystems and left many species more vulnerable to extinction. By the time the asteroid struck, Earth's environment was already in a fragile state, with food webs and climate patterns destabilized. setting the stage for an extinction event that would wipe out the dinosaurs and forever reshape the course of life on Earth. Some scientists argue that the climate changes caused by volcanic activity made dinosaur populations more susceptible to extinction when the asteroid impact occurred. Large dinosaurs, particularly herbivores, were already facing challenges due to shifting vegetation patterns and food scarcity. The unstable climate disrupted plant growth cycles, meaning that food sources were often less predictable and less nutritious. With fewer resources available, dinosaur populations likely experienced declines in health and reproductive success, which could have made it difficult to recover from environmental pressures. In this weakened state, these populations were less equipped to handle additional stress from sudden changes, like those caused by the asteroid impact. Additionally, dinosaurs, particularly large-bodied species, were highly specialized, relying on specific environmental conditions for survival. As these conditions changed due to volcanic activity, many species would have struggled to adapt quickly enough. Their specialization, once an evolutionary advantage, became a vulnerability as rapid climate fluctuations outpaced their ability to evolve. The long lifespans and slower reproductive cycles of larger dinosaurs may have further limited their capacity to adapt to an increasingly erratic world. In contrast, smaller animals with shorter lifespans and more generalist diets, like mammals and early birds, could adapt more readily to sudden changes, enabling them to survive where dinosaurs could not. The compounded stress from climate change and habitat shifts may have created a tipping point. As volcanic activity continued, dinosaur species that depended on stable, lush habitats faced food shortages and increased competition for resources, driving population declines even before the asteroid struck. When the asteroid impact caused a global crisis, many dinosaur species were already vulnerable, with their numbers and ecosystems significantly reduced. The combination of long-term environmental instability from volcanic activity and the sudden shock of the asteroid impact likely created conditions from which they could not recover. This combination of gradual and sudden environmental pressures paints a picture of a world on the brink, where dinosaurs were left defenseless against the catastrophic forces that would bring their reign to an end and reshape life on Earth for millions of years. What specific traits or behaviors helped small mammals and birds survive in the aftermath of the mass extinction? In the wake of the asteroid impact, the planet's conditions became brutal and unyielding, yet certain animals managed to endure, using a unique set of traits and behaviors. Small mammals, for example, possess several advantages over the dinosaurs that allowed them to navigate a world suddenly transformed by darkness, cold, and scarcity. One of their most crucial adaptations was their small size, which enabled them to find shelter underground or within narrow crevices, protecting them from the impact's aftermath. While dinosaurs, with their larger bodies, were more exposed to environmental changes, small mammals could avoid the worst effects of plummeting temperatures, toxic gases, and falling debris by burrowing or hiding in well-protected environments. Mammals were also generalists in terms of diet. While many dinosaurs had specialized diets tied to specific plants, mammals were far more flexible, consuming a variety of foods, including plants, insects, and smaller animals. This adaptability proved invaluable in a world where food sources were rapidly dwindling. As the primary producers, plants, declined due to the lack of sunlight, ecosystems struggled to sustain traditional food chains. However, with their diverse diets, mammals could scavenge on whatever was available, ensuring their survival despite limited resources. This generalist approach gave mammals an edge, allowing them to make the best of an environment where food was sparse and unpredictable. Another trait that set mammals apart was their ability to regulate body temperature. Unlike cold-blooded reptiles and many of the larger dinosaurs, mammals were endothermic, meaning they could generate their own heat and maintain a stable internal temperature even as the outside world grew colder. This ability to stay warm enabled them to remain active, find food, and reproduce even during the colder periods following the impact. In contrast, many reptiles and dinosaurs likely struggled with the drop in temperatures, making it difficult to function in a dramatically altered climate. Birds too had unique adaptations that aided their survival. Their small size, feathers, and ability to fly allowed them to find food across a wide area and quickly relocate when conditions became inhospitable. As some of the few creatures capable of covering large distances post-impact, birds could exploit food sources scattered over vast regions. Their feathers also offered insulation, helping them conserve body heat in a cooling world. Together, the traits of birds and mammals, their size, diet flexibility, warmth regulation, and mobility, allowed them to persist in a hostile environment where many others perished. How did certain environmental factors, such as shelter availability and dietary flexibility, give these survivors an edge? The chaotic aftermath of the asteroid impact forced animals into survival mode, where access to shelter and the ability to eat a wide range of foods became critical advantages. With Earth's surface transformed into a desolate, smoke-filled landscape, animals that could take refuge underground or in natural shelters found a reprieve from the harsh conditions above. Mammals, in particular, took advantage of this, using burrows to shield themselves from the drastic temperature changes, toxic air, and falling debris that marked the immediate aftermath. By staying underground, these creatures avoided exposure to the elements, emerging only to forage when conditions permitted. This reliance on shelter allowed mammals to navigate the early months and years after the extinction event, providing a critical buffer against a world in upheaval. Dietary flexibility also played a vital role in the survival of mammals and birds. With the mass extinction disrupting ecosystems on a global scale, traditional food sources became scarce or disappeared altogether. Unlike many dinosaurs that had specialized diets, mammals were generalists, able to consume plants, seeds, insects, and small animals. This adaptability meant that when one food source became unavailable, they could shift to another, maximizing their chances of finding sustenance in an unpredictable environment. Birds, too, benefited from this flexibility. Many species could forage for seeds, insects, or carrion, which allowed them to sustain themselves even as vegetation dwindled. In contrast, larger herbivorous dinosaurs, which relied on specific types of plants, likely struggled to find food in a landscape where vegetation had been decimated. The ability to locate food sources across large distances further advantaged animals like birds. Their flight capabilities allowed them to cover wide areas, searching for isolated patches of resources that grounded animals couldn't reach. This mobility, combined with their insulated bodies, meant that birds could follow food supplies to areas less impacted by the extinction event's immediate aftermath. Smaller mammals also displayed a kind of mobility, moving between underground shelters and foraging zones, covering smaller but crucial distances to locate food and resources within safe confines. Both the adaptability in diet and access to protective shelter helped mammals and birds withstand conditions that many specialized species could not endure. While dinosaurs had ruled with size, strength, and specialization, mammals and birds thrived through flexibility, resilience, and the ability to exploit shelter and diverse food sources. As a result, these traits not only helped them survive the extinction event, but positioned them as the new dominants in a world left open by the fall of the dinosaurs. What ecological niches were left vacant by the extinction of dinosaurs, and how did mammals evolve to fill these roles? The extinction of the dinosaurs left Earth transformed, its ecosystems a vast, empty landscape with unoccupied niches and a cascade of ecological roles suddenly open. With the dominant life forms eradicated, countless ecological positions were left unfilled, offering opportunities for surviving species to expand, adapt, and evolve. Mammals, who had existed in the shadows of the dinosaurs, were particularly suited to step into these vacant roles, evolving to exploit the resources and habitats left behind. They quickly diversified, adapting to environments that had once been dominated by reptiles far larger and more specialized than themselves. Herbivorous niches, once occupied by massive dinosaurs, became a central area for mammalian expansion. Over time, mammals evolved into various herbivorous forms, developing specialized teeth, digestive systems, and body sizes suited to different types of vegetation and feeding habits. Small, rodent-like mammals began to diversify, while some lineages evolved into larger plant-eating mammals that grazed on the newly available grasses, bushes, and trees. The unclaimed vegetation gave rise to different forms of grazers and browsers, from nimble tree dwellers to large terrestrial grazers, establishing new food chains that would shape future ecosystems. The absence of large predators presented yet another opportunity for mammals. With the once dominant carnivorous dinosaurs gone, early mammals adapted into predatory niches, evolving sharper teeth, stronger jaws, and increased agility to hunt smaller animals and eventually larger prey. Small insectivores and rodent hunters grew more proficient, while some mammals evolved to become apex predators, occupying the roles that once belonged to ferocious dinosaur predators. This rise of mammalian carnivores sparked evolutionary innovations, with mammals growing larger and faster, refining their hunting techniques and social strategies. Water ecosystems also witnessed a transformation. With marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs gone, mammals evolved to explore the seas. Ancestors of today's whales and seals began as land dwellers before adapting to life in the water, evolving flippers, streamlined bodies, and powerful tails suited to an aquatic life. This shift enabled them to fill the top predator role left vacant by marine reptiles, and mammals soon became dominant in the ocean, establishing complex new food chains beneath the waves. The rapid diversification of mammals post-extinction reshaped Earth's ecosystems. With no dinosaurs to overshadow them, they adapted to various habitats, from dense forests and vast plains to open seas, evolving in myriad forms to exploit a world suddenly open for conquest. Their ability to rapidly diversify allowed them to fill every niche, creating a thriving, dynamic landscape that would define the new era of life on Earth. How did the shift in dominant species from dinosaurs to mammals reshape Earth's ecosystems and set the stage for the modern world? The shift from dinosaur dominance to mammalian rule was more than a simple succession. It was a transformation that completely reshaped Earth's ecosystems. With dinosaurs gone, ecosystems began to stabilize around mammals, whose smaller body sizes, diverse diets, and adaptive behaviors suited them to the changing environments of the post-extinction world. This transformation led to the formation of entirely new ecosystems and laid the foundation for many of the natural landscapes we recognize today. As mammals spread and diversified, ecosystems became more complex, with layered plant life and intricate food webs. The era of towering conifers and cycads gave way to flowering plants, which spread across the world, creating lush forests and grasslands that supported diverse mammalian species. The rise of flowering plants not only enriched diets but also enabled new forms of ecological relationships. Mammals evolved to play active roles as pollinators and seed dispersers, fostering plant diversity and ecosystem stability. This interconnected web of plants and animals set the stage for highly interdependent ecosystems, where mammal-plant interactions shaped the land. This shift also encouraged evolutionary adaptations in mammalian body forms, leading to specialized features that promoted species diversification. Mammals became adept climbers, burrowers, and swimmers, with some evolving specialized limbs for digging, swinging through trees, or hunting in rivers and lakes. The evolution of these adaptations allowed mammals to occupy a range of habitats, creating layered ecosystems with diverse communities of herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. Forests became alive with small arboreal mammals, plains were dominated by grazing herds, and coastal areas saw the rise of marine mammals, each thriving in their unique environmental niches. As apex predators among mammals evolved, ecological balance was maintained through complex predator-prey relationships. Mammals developed social structures, cooperation, and territorial behaviors that contributed to ecosystem stability. These new dynamics fostered a balanced flow of resources through food webs, supporting sustainable populations and encouraging further diversification. Mammals' ability to cooperate in groups, nurture their young, and adapt to various environments enabled them to establish more resilient communities, strengthening the ecological fabric of Earth. The mammalian age introduced a level of biological complexity that set the stage for modern ecosystems. These evolving ecosystems, characterized by plant-animal symbiosis, specialized niches, and intricate social structures, became the foundation of today's natural world. With mammals at the helm, Earth's landscapes were transformed into the complex and diverse habitats that continue to flourish and evolve, shaping the environments we live in and study today. What specific features and behaviors in birds and reptiles today link them to their dinosaur ancestors? Birds and certain reptiles carry a remarkable legacy from their dinosaur ancestors, showcasing features and behaviors that directly trace back to the age of the giants. Birds, for instance, are the closest living relatives of theropod dinosaurs, and they reveal striking anatomical similarities. The structure of their bones, particularly the hollow bones that reduce body weight for flight, mirrors features in theropod dinosaurs like Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus rex. This lightweight bone structure, combined with the presence of air sacs that improve respiratory efficiency, is a direct inheritance from their dinosaurian forebears. Fossil evidence shows that many theropods likely had feathers, suggesting that feathers evolved initially for insulation or display long before they were adapted for flight. Modern birds maintain this heritage, not only in their feathered forms but in the shared anatomy that supports strong flight muscles attached to a keeled sternum, much like the structure seen in certain feathered dinosaurs. Beyond physical features, behavioral traits also provide clues to the deep connections between birds and dinosaurs. Nesting behaviors seen in birds, such as building nests, brooding eggs, and caring for their young, mirror what scientists believe many dinosaurs practiced. Fossils of species like Oviraptor have been found in brooding positions atop nests, suggesting they too displayed parental care. This nurturing behavior, a defining characteristic in birds today, likely emerged among certain dinosaur lineages as a strategy to improve offspring survival, linking modern birds with their prehistoric relatives, not only physically, but socially as well. Reptiles, particularly crocodilians, share ancient lineage connections with dinosaurs and showcase similar survival traits. Crocodiles and alligators have powerful jaw structures and body postures, resembling some of the more ancient basal archosaurs from which dinosaurs evolved. Additionally, both crocodilians and many dinosaur species are ectothermic, relying on external heat sources to regulate body temperature, a trait that reveals an adaptive lineage shaped by similar environmental pressures. The hunting methods of modern crocodiles, relying on ambush tactics and patience, also resemble what we imagine of certain predatory dinosaurs, further illustrating a behavioral and anatomical lineage that links these present-day reptiles to their ancient kin. Together, these features and behaviors weave a lineage from the age of dinosaurs to the present. Birds' flight, feathers, and parental care, and the resilience and hunting strategies of reptiles are living connections, testaments to evolutionary adaptations that not only shape the past, but continue to define life today. How do discoveries in molecular biology and genetics help scientists trace modern animals back to the age of dinosaurs? Molecular biology and genetics have transformed our understanding of evolution, allowing scientists to trace the lineage of modern animals back to the age of dinosaurs with a level of precision once thought impossible. One of the most significant breakthroughs has been the analysis of DNA sequences to understand evolutionary relationships. By comparing genetic material between modern birds, reptiles, and ancient dinosaur fossils, scientists can establish connections that link these groups. Although dinosaur DNA itself is rarely preserved, fragments and traces of proteins such as collagen have been discovered in well-preserved fossils like those of Tyrannosaurus rex. Collagen from dinosaur bones shares structural similarities with the collagen found in modern birds, providing strong molecular evidence that birds are indeed direct descendants of theropod dinosaurs. Another powerful tool in genetics is the study of developmental genes, which govern the formation of physical traits in embryos. For instance, Genes responsible for the formation of limbs and feathers in birds have been compared to those in reptiles and have shown striking resemblances to similar genetic expressions observed in ancient theropods. These genes, such as those within the Hox gene family, play crucial roles in body segmentation and limb development, and studying them reveals how ancient genetic codes were repurposed and modified over millions of years. This genetic continuity helps scientists map the evolutionary pathway from feathered theropods to modern birds, showing that certain genetic frameworks have persisted through vast stretches of time. The advent of CRISPR technology, which allows scientists to edit genes with high precision, has even enabled experiments that explore dormant or lost dinosaurian traits within bird DNA. Researchers have activated genes in chicken embryos that produce reptilian-like traits, such as a dinosaur-like snout in place of a beak, demonstrating the latent potential in avian DNA to express ancestral characteristics. These experiments provide a fascinating glimpse into the deep genetic memory that birds carry from their dinosaur ancestors, revealing how only minor genetic shifts could potentially reverse millions of years of evolutionary adaptation. The field of molecular biology has also illuminated evolutionary relationships among broader groups. By constructing genetic family trees that map how species diverged, scientists can trace back to common ancestors shared by modern reptiles, birds, and dinosaurs, outlining their connections across deep time. This molecular evidence brings unparalleled depth to our understanding of the evolutionary story, connecting living creatures to their ancient past and allowing us to see the age of dinosaurs not as a distant era, but as a profound influence still present in the genetic makeup of animals today. Makeup of animals today. Makeup of animals today. Makeup of animals today.